Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. We're over a quarter of the way through the championship now, and this is the fourth meeting of Season 9 from Watkins, Glen. This classic American race circuit has been a host of many wonderful rounds of this championship and many races in the real world that have taken people's breath away. There is the current calendar. And this is where we stand so far. We have had one of each of the different formats so far under our belt. The sprints, the features, which we absolutely loved at Interlagos, and of course the Enduro 2 weeks ago at Mount Panorama. Off the back of a week off, we're here once again with some more sprint racing. So 3 20-minute races ahead of you this evening. We've got a wonderful, wonderful lineup for the rest of the season as well. And as you can see, the 3 sort of different formats you get in one bunch swap around at the halfway point, which is going to be very interesting. But I am Chaz Draycott, and alongside me, of course, is Paul Smith for this evening. This is how the current championship standings look. Nickel Foggy, top of the Pro Championship standings, with his teammate or stablemate Michael Evdoka just behind. Then Jesse Jones, only 1 point behind him. Then 3 points between him and Oscar Coper as well. Mark Fletcher sits in 5th place with Ross McFarlane and Josh Thompson, followed by Chris Wood, Ben Palmer and Pete Harrod in the top 10. It's very, very close indeed. Same again with Pro-Am as well. Tom Dadswell just ahead of Jake Blackhall, with Mike Horder and Ben Gregory slightly more spread out for 3rd and 4th. They're followed by Stephen McCaffrey, Jeroen Kaiser, and Lee Berridge is only 3 points behind him. Same again with Adam Hedgecock. It's then Daniel Crossley and Chris van der Ness in 10th. And don't forget, we have drop weeks in place as well now, so these scores have been shaken up a bit more. After the 5th week of the championship, we will have another drop week added in as well. So these scores certainly do develop as the season goes on. And there are your AM standings as well. Mr. Archer currently top at the moment, but only 2 points ahead of Michael Blake. And then you have Doyle, Webster and Roberts in the hot pursuit. Jason Rowe in 6th place, only 1 point behind John. Just shows you how close it gets. Jim Hodgson and Jim Whitehouse side by side in 7th with 177 points each, ahead of Nunnan and our mate Liam Atkins in 10th there. It's just incredibly close all the way through. And there are your teams' Pro Championships. And look at that. Despite these teams having 3 cars each, there's only 3 points between the top 2. Pure Sims OBP lead RSR Esports by G Performance by the tiniest of margins, ahead of Pure Sims Esports and Altitude Esports having a good debut series. Pure Sims Frame in 5th with Boosted Jericho 6th, not too far back. Then we have Paceworks Esports by Cracked Coffee and Williams Esports down in 8th. Team Mad are 9th, just ahead of Pure Sims by Craig's Setup Shop. And then you have your Teams Pro and Championship standings. Boosted Motorsport having a really good run so far. They've got quite an extensive lead over Century Sim Racing and Simmortal in 3rd place. They're ahead of Boosted Support Bubble, who are very socially distanced away from Paceworks Esports by a Priory. TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport just behind them. Nomad Sim Racing in 7th, with a small gap to Sim Stickers Racing. And Boosted Simsport then just heading Performance Link Esports in 10th. But it's all very, very close, isn't it, Paul? All the way through this championship standings. And to be fair, we know that it's going to be the same all the way to the end, don't we?
Absolutely, it's going to be fantastic to see. Hello, everybody. A little bit of a dicky throat here today, so that's why Chaz is going to be the one talking most of the time. To be honest, he does that anyway. But yeah, Watkins Glen. It's one of my favourite tracks here at iRacing. It is a tremendous track. We've got the opportunity for overtaking down into the carousel because there's not using the bus stop chicane here today, so you will get to see them absolutely flat out in towards the carousel. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how people in the Ferrari cope with this one, because they're notoriously down on power compared to the rest of the standings. There has been a little bit of a balance power adjustment as well by iRacing in the last week or so, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out as well here today.
Yeah, that's it. And I think one of the main playing field levelers that we have in this championship is the long back straight here at Watkins Glen. You know, so much slipstream is going to be going on. There's going to be a bit of mind games here and there. You know, we've seen it in the past, you and I, in different series where you don't want to be the car leading most of the time because you're the one giving everybody else behind you the slipstream. You want to be the car that's just sort of waiting behind, maybe saving a bit of fuel, but in a sprint race, you don't really need to be doing that. So it's all handing itself to the format. You know, it's a sprint race. In its ultimate glory all night. It is sprint racing. There you go. each of the sprint racing events has got 3 of these 20-minute races, so think of it similar to a BTCC format, but we've got 2 reverse grids over the course of the evening. And to be fair, Paul, we've seen a lot of drivers before really work the evening's format to their advantage, haven't we, in just making their way through. So they'd get reversed, and then race 2, they'd maybe get into the middle of where the reverse grid is, and then be near the front again come race 3.
Yeah, they people who have been in this series a lot longer, they have an advantage here. They know how to work this reverse grid, whereas people who are maybe new into the championship, they haven't got that experience. They don't know how to work that reverse grid process as well, which of course we have after the results of each of the first and second races. We have the spinning wheel to decide that. So yeah, it's interesting to see how those people like Ross McFarlane, he's really good at managing that reverse grid draw and getting as many points out of race 2 to then give himself the best chance in race 3.
Yeah, it is just, like, say, working it to your advantage and not pushing sometimes. As daft as that sounds in a race format like we're going to see this evening, you just need to pick your battles. And especially on a track like this as well, it is notoriously difficult to overtake in the boot section. Yeah. And, I mean, with the camber changes and the altitude changes even, I mean, the long right-hander at what they call the toe of the boot, trying to get on the power there in these GT3 cars. I raced the Audi 2 seasons ago, and let me tell you, any tiny change of that tarmac, because a lot of the apexes on this circuit have been resurfaced over time, and they've got this sort of lumpy section right down the apex. These cars get unsettled by that so easily over the course of a race, and when we see people push in and the tyres start going at the end of these races, there's going to be a few spins here and there, maybe a few mistakes, and it's going to be a mental challenge tonight as well, I think. Yeah,
and it's also getting everyone through the S's on lap 1. That's going to be a big challenge. That'll be the first challenge of the evening, is getting all this grid through. I mean, we've got over 50 cars again here, 51 cars here tonight. So plenty of people to work the way through. And if we get a reverse grid draw, well, I mean,
mint.
Yeah, we're waiting for the full reverse grid yet. So it's yet to happen this season, but you never know.
I was just about to say, sorry, Paul. This, of course, being the scene of one of the most legendary moments, not just in that I've ever seen in iRacing, but in this league as well, or vice versa. The James Underhill incident, as it is known, where basically I don't know if anybody else has ever seen it. I think in one of the iRacing, someone did a compilation video recently where it happened, where James's connection, there'd been a huge crash, James's car had got damaged, he went back to the pits, got a fast repair, and everyone was on the safety car, and we were all on the back straight. James had come hurtling out of the pits again in his Porsche, thinking, right, catch back up to the field, flat out up the S's, and his internet had only died one way, so it wasn't downloading any information from the server, so he couldn't see any of our cars, hear them, or touch them, for his knowledge. But it was still uploading data to the server, so we could all see, hear, and unfortunately touch him. And he came hurtling up the S's at full chat, and his car was not getting affected by ours, but he was ploughing through. Every second car just got launched into the sky, and all you heard was this Porsche screaming up behind you and hitting you while you were doing 50 mile an hour, and he was doing about 130, and it was the fright of our lives. But there's a very funny video on my YouTube channel of that with some obnoxiously loud Thomas the Tank Engine music. But it was such a moment, and I'm sure James probably, he laughs about it now. We were all very angry at the time, but it's one of those things. It's online racing, isn't it?
Absolutely. People forget that the internet happens, and these things can happen. I mean, it happens at World Championship level. I look to the Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup that I commentate on. Sebastian Job, the reigning champion, in the opening round of the championship, had his internet just die. And he lost connection, and
nightmare.
Yeah, it can happen to the best of us. It can happen to anyone. And think of it like this: it's like having a mechanical failure.
Yes.
In a real world racing.
Yeah, definitely, and that's one thing I've always sort of maintained, is that we try to attribute those failures, and hardware failures as well, to things like that. They happen randomly. They happen just as frequently as they would do in real life. If the sim simulated that sort of thing, there'd always be claims of, oh, why does it always happen to me? Why is this always going on? You know, we know last season, you know, Josh had terrible reliability with his internet. But the thing is, in a real world series, you have teams, engine manufacturers, I'm looking at Formula One, where, you know, some have more failures than others. And in sim racing, we follow that trend, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Really.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
It's a way of bringing that sort of real world of racing into the sim racing unintentionally.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. It's just not on purpose at all.
But I mean, I've heard. Well, we saw it at Bathurst, didn't we, with Jason Rowe, final lap of the race, heading down to the Forest Elbow, and his wife turned the lights off in the house, meaning in his room, meaning the VR headset couldn't pick up its location.
So gutted for him, but that's one of them things, you know. I mean, I've had that before when in a similar situation, you know, I'll be sitting in here with all the lights and everything on, and Beth walks in, you know, why is that on? Turns it off, and it's like, I needed that. And it's, you know, she's just trying to save on the electricity bill, but unfortunately, it's this that pays the bills, really. So, yeah. But poor old Jason, though, like you say, it was hilarious. I'm sure he had a good laugh about it afterwards, but it did cost him positions. So fingers crossed he can have some more results that make up for it, eh?
He'll be hoping for that, that's for sure. He'll be wanting to. He's not doing too bad in the championship, though, to be fair. So yeah, he's getting back in the championship after a few seasons off. So interested to see how Jason gets on this time, and maybe he'll have a big sign over the light switch saying "Do not switch off."
Just duct tape it. Just like, no. Either way, he probably needs one of them, you know, like you get on fighter jet control sticks, where you've got the little the hat switch or whatever they're called, where you've got to flick it up before you can press the button. Yes. Maybe a little bit of a safety catch or something. But either way, there is that concrete I mentioned earlier, or tarmac if you want to call it that, where on the apex of this circuit, a lot of it has been sort of resurfaced, not recently, but just over time. And it does give you a bit of a jolt if you hit that, and things can get very, very lively indeed. But here is our grid. Josh Thompson for Williams Esports puts it on pole alongside Ross McFarlane. The two of them going head-to-head again. Then it's Jesse Jones, always quick, alongside two-time British Touring Car champion Ashley Sutton. Mark Fletcher is alongside Oscar Coper. The two of them had a wonderful race, actually, in another league that I broadcasted last weekend at Bathurst, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Michael Avdoka and Ben Palmer are together on row 4, with Tom Dadswell and Kenneth Oswald on row 5. They're followed by David Baker. Sorry, David. Morgan Butler, that's fantastic for Morgan. 12th on the grid, the highest placed and by quite a long shot as well. Jake Blackhall lines up alongside Andy Shield. Pete Harrod and Alex Neller are on row 8, with Chris van der Ness and Ethan Bass on the 9th row of the grid. Following them is Ross Nicholson and Ben Gregory, with Paolo Munoz and Stephen McCaffrey, with Mike Horder and Matthew Doyle, a second-placed am in 24th position. Behind them is Jason Hodgson and Adam Watson. Simon Neller lines up alongside Lars Van Raan on a very number 7-dominated row 14. Then it's James Whitehouse and Lewis Archer rounding out your top 30. Behind them is Simon Field and Jeroen Kaiser. Then it's Andy Archer and Chris Wood. Lee Berridge and Chris Byram are on row 18 of the grid, ahead of Michael Blake and Adam Hedgecock. Then it's Luke Hobson and Mark Woodhouse rounding out your 40, and there's still plenty more to come. Kieran Chung and Stuart Nunnan, 41st and 42nd. Following them is John Roberts and Liam Atkins, with Jason Rowe and Sean Gardner, Matthew Turnbull and Nickel Foggy, championship leader, down in 48th, followed by Matthew Spun Bunn, Brian Loynes and Tom Stevens, 51st on the grid, Paul.
Yeah, sorry, I just had my microphone muted there. Yeah, he's down there in 51st, and he won't be happy with that. I know he won't. And it was his birthday recently, wasn't it? Oh, that's Tom Jacobs, isn't it? It was his birthday.
Oh, yes.
Recently.
Yeah, Tom Jacobs' birthday today, actually.
Oh, there you go. It's so very recent.
He's probably doing something F4 Phantom related, which is why he's not here this evening, but I'm sure he's having a wonderful day. So, as I said to him on Facebook, may his CPU cores be cold and may his RGB have nothing to do with Corsair. But Josh Thompson, he's going to be watching his mirrors, because he's got a very talented field of individuals chasing him down again this evening. I'm intrigued by that second row. Jesse Jones and Ash Sutton, they have both run very, very strong races, and they know exactly what to do with traffic and how to plan out an attack. So it's going to be intriguing. Ross McFarlane, though, think back to Interlagos where we saw the first feature races of this season, and he just drove away, didn't he, Paul? It was a wonderful performance by Ross.
Yeah, it was a tremendous performance from Ross on that occasion, and he showed the reason why he's always consistently up there at the top of the pro standings in this championship, whatever season we're in, whatever cars we're in as well, because of course the series used to run GTE cars, but now in the GT3s, of course, the rejuvenated GT3s, I would say, actually, with the addition of the Lamborghini and also the BMW coming into the fray as well.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how they get on in different cars, and I mean, Ross was one of the prime examples of drivers that can change cars and just cope. You know, he was in the Mercedes for a lot of last season after starting off, I think he was in a Ferrari to begin with, was he not? And he just has this knack of just getting on with it. You know, I've seen him driving in the Mercedes in some official races, and he's been trying to get the best of it just in case he does make the change at any point. You know, he's very tactile like that, is Ross. But another one to give a mention to, though, who I mentioned obviously when they were gridding up, Morgan Butler, highest placed AM driver by 12 places, and he is 12th on the grid. It's just absolutely awesome stuff. He's got his teammate David Baker in there with him. You can see Morgan in the Audi R8, which is the Craig's setup shot machine. It's like an orangey red with Craig's wonderful face. There it just goes, all over the side of it. But he's got his teammate Jake Blackhall right behind him as well, so those two will be very, very pleased, and of course trying to work together. There's a lot of the Pure Sims guys there actually. You've got David Baker, Morgan Butler, Jake Blackhall, Andy Shield and Pete Harrod. A good gaggle of them, but we're just about to come around the final corner and get the first of 3 20-minute races underway this evening.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. This will be tremendous, but the pace car will head off to the right. There's Barney the flagman, ready for the start.
He's going to be very excited indeed. The pace car pulls off very erratically, as it does. The green flag is in the air. Barney goes for it, and so does Josh Thompson. And look at that, Sutton and Jesse Jones making contact. Oscar Coper was also 3 wide with Mark Fletcher, and that's Ben Palmer around the outside. Well, oh no, Jesse Jones is around. Jesse Jones has spun it. Oh, he wasn't holding the brakes to begin with. He's on the brakes again. Does he get clipped? He does. There's a few cars in there. But to be fair, I'd say he's got away with that for now. There's oh, that's Nickel Foggy off. Oh, there's one of the Century Sim Racing cars upside down.
Jim Whitehouse.
Yeah, and Jake Blackhall cannot catch a break, can he? But championship leader Nickel Foggy involved in that. That's very, very important indeed. But Josh Thompson holding on ahead of these 2 Pure Sims cars at the moment.
Yeah, doing a good job at the front here. He's not in second place. It's just the fact that the timing screen captures up with Jim Whitehouse taking a tour back to the pits. But yes, he's got Ross McFarlane, Ashley Sutton, Ben Palmer, Mark Fletcher. Be interesting.
Mark Woodhouse has had an issue further down actually. He was backwards in the middle of the straight. I think there was a bit of contact as they were going down towards the carousel. There's Lars van Rijn's off. We've had Matthew Doyle have a spin as well. There's a lot of cars dropping off, to be fair.
Matt Woodhouse's car looks very, very second-hand. That's not going back to the forecourt, that's for sure. Jason Rowe has had a spin as well. And cold tyres, that's what we're gaining from this. Cold tyres are going to have a big effect here on the opening lap of these races.
Yeah, there's some real patience needed when you've got these opening laps of a race. And I think that Josh Thompson is going to have to try not to overdo it here because he's got a real train of those Audis behind him. 2 of them, the Pure Sims OBP machines, and of course the Pure Sims esports car, Ross McFarlane, Ben Palmer and Ash Sutton in there, obviously both real world races as well. Mark Fletcher always quick, Oscar Coper as well. Kenneth Oswald doing a good job too. So we've got a number of teams that are seemingly always at the front of the pack, but I mean, you saw the championship standings for the teams earlier. They are definitely not reflecting the way that these races always go, as now Ross McFarlane's in the slipstream. There's no point in saving fuel. He's going to start trying to fight with Josh, which will slow the pair of them down and bring them into that pack. This will be very much pack hunting now by Pure Sims, won't it?
Yeah, they'll be wanting to try and get one over on Josh, but the problem is that you mentioned it right there. If Josh just goes purely defensive all the time, then it will allow the opportunity for the rest of the pack just to stay with them, stay in this group and really catch up. So yeah, we'll be interested to see how they all pan out here in this one. But that Ferrari is notorious for not being the fastest along the straights.
Yeah, and it's a shame really, because it used to be. That's the thing, when it was around at first, it was notoriously fast in a straight line. You know, it was a wonder to watch it, because it just took off from absolutely everything at the top end. Once you got it into 6th gear, it was just an animal. That's Andy Scheel having a moment, and going past him there, that's Paolo Munoz, I believe. He's got the number 32 machine of Chris van der Nest just behind him, who had a real roller coaster ride at Bathurst, it must be said.
Sutton's lost a couple of positions.
Yeah, Sutton has dropped down, hasn't he?
I think he might have a slowdown. As at the front, Fallon takes the lead.
Fletcher's just gone past Palmer as well behind, but this is the important one at the moment, because the two of them starting to break away slightly from the rest of the guys behind. But look at this now, on board with Josh Thompson, trying to climb on the back of that Audi, get some of the pressure slipstream, but he's actually started off quite close to the back of him at the top of the S's. 2x2 down the straight as Palmer tries to get past Fletcher behind them. But McFarlane now, what can he do about sticking this to the inside, and what can Thompson do about carrying the pace around the edge? He gives him just enough room on the inside. Great stuff by the pair of them. Nice formation flying. Josh is going to have the inside now for the left-hander. Great stuff, but what can Ross do about a cutback? Nothing yet. Great chasing though, and look at that behind as well. Fletcher, Palmer and Sutton really getting their elbows out.
Yeah, Mark Fletcher's really enjoying it. Looking like he's having fun out there in that Altitude Esports car. And he's got it right in the mix there with Palmer and Sutton. And if there's somebody that you cannot intimidate on track, it is Ash Sutton.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, let's face it, Ash is probably one of the more intimidating racers in the world at the minute. You know, he's been absolutely on it all season. And even in the sim as well, he has just that same effect. But good stuff by Ben Palmer to open that door and get through. But this is the thing now. Fletcher will not take that line down. Just behind them, you've got... Oh, that was a look down the inside there. That was Michael Avdoka on Oscar Coper. And then, of course, behind them is Kenneth Oswald, and then David Baker in the Lamborghini, the highest placed Lambo. Ross McFarlane goes back to the lead temporarily, that'll be. But Kenneth Oswald, who we're on board with now, that wonderful 5.2 litre V10 scream of the Audi R8. The three of them all in the same car. But this is now very much a Michael Avdoka sandwich in the bread of the RSR esports machines. Look at them go up the S's. It's a great shot, that. So much pace over the top of the hill. It's awesome. But there goes Avdoka, popping out to the left. But he's going to be on the outside. Now, can he carry the speed around the outside then, Paul, and then make it the inside for the left?
Well, I mean, we've seen how you can carry the speed around the outside here from Josh Thompson earlier. Just a lap earlier here, but... Avdoka not able to do it, but he's kept his nose there. Oh. That is an overtaken opportunity down the chute, but not really happening there for him as this curb cam taking a battering. Looking to the toe here. That's brave at contact. The inevitable contact. Oh, and that's a big accident.
Yep, David Baker in there as well. Going to keep an eye on whether the track gets blocked. It seems okay.
Everyone's getting round. That's the main thing here.
Yeah. That's David Baker, and Tom Dadswell caught up in that. The other Altitude Esports driver. It's a real shame for David, though, because he was going so well. Here it is again. So Michael goes to the inside.
Ah, it's ambitious.
Yeah, the thing is, you know, you could say that it was a little bit of a move over to the right, but at the same time, you know, Avdoka wasn't alongside him.
He had the right to take the line into the corner, did the man in front. And if you're talking about insurance claims, it's always the person behind us that falls.
Yes, indeed. You're not wrong there, mate. You are not wrong at all. We had a lot of them. But still, close racing, and it's always going to happen. But what a nightmare first few laps this has been for the RSR Esports by G2 Performance Machines. I tell you, he's not having a nightmare tonight. That's Morgan Butler, 8th overall, highest placed AM as well. The next AM driver down the order is Andrew Archer, who, to be fair, is 19th after gaining 14 positions. But Butler is flying. So too are these top drivers as well, right at the front of your pack.
Ben Palmer's joined this battle as well, so it's now a 3-car battle, and it's soon to be a 5-car battle with Sutton and Fletcher gaining on them as well. So that's going to be intriguing to see how they pan out. Thompson back to the lead. This is the reason why we're not getting overly excited about the battle at the front here, and that's just purely because they keep on switching positions every lap.
Every corner at this rate as well. There's just so much going on. We absolutely love it. Looking now, Adam Hedgecock, who is going slowly in the unlucky 13 Ferrari. He was, you can see by the lights on the windscreen, he was 25th, down to 30th. That is the Paceworks Mercedes having a go. That would have been Stephen McCaffrey.
3 into 1 doesn't go. Oh dear.
Oh. There was a little move over by Hedge, but again, McCaffrey didn't have the overlap and potentially would have been better off backing out of that. Hedge made it a nice little 360 and got on with it, but yeah unfortunately.
360 no scope, yeah, it was fine. That was,
Indeed, the gold wheels made it look good as well. But here is Mark Fletcher again then, 5th place at the moment, with a hell of a lot of calibre in front of him if you think about it. He's got Ash Sutton, Ben Palmer, Ross McFarlane and Josh Thompson. 4 names that if you see them in your split in any race, you would think, okay, well, I've not won this one, so I'll try again next time. Oh, Hedges had another issue by the look of it, actually. Just started driving, well, say driving down, he's just started dropping down the order further. But look at this climb all over the back now of Ash Sutton's Audi. And Mark's actually just following along there, letting off a little bit. Ash comes over, says, not on your life. You can see further up as well, they're still side by side again as McFarlane tries it around the outside of Thompson. Now, Thompson's done this a few times, so now McFarlane's got the shoe on the other foot, if you pardon the pun of being at the boot. Still side by side. The overlap's going to be gone by that point, is it? Oh, it's very, very nip and tuck there into the right. Now, Palmer's going to try and carry it around the outside, is he? So many lines can be taken through there, but awesome, awesome stuff by these guys at the minute, Paul. This is great, clean racing. Touch wood, no major contact yet, and still fighting for positions.
Yeah, it's great stuff, this. As you mentioned, we reached the halfway point of this race already, so this is flying by. As you mentioned, top am is Morgan Butler in 8th place. I think there needs to be a recount there. Stop the count, that's for sure. But 12th place for Mike Horder, your top pro-am. That's good for Mike. He, of course, is a previous champion in this series, so he's someone with a bit of calibre.
Yeah, definitely. There are some wonderful, wonderful drivers in this series, and you know, certain drivers shine on different evenings. You know, you get some of them where they'll have an off few nights, and then others, well, they'll just fly. By the way, Nickel Foggy is just on the fastest lap of the race last time round, a 1:43.2. That's a good half a second quicker than most of the guys at the front of this pack as well. So he's really moving. It was only a few tenths faster than McFarlane, but on the rest of them, it's about half a second. He may not be gaining many positions. I mean, he's 37th, so he's not going to be a threat to these guys by the end of the race, but still, Nickel showing his class after getting the win last time out. Here's Thompson, though, trying it again. Now, this is just role reversal lap after lap here, and it's a case of, does the car behind come through? Ben getting very close to the back of that Ferrari, but this is mega stuff at the moment by Josh, because he's fending off, let's face it, an entire team of Pure Sims cars. This is great.
And also Mark Fletcher. Let's not forget him as well. He's running there. Oh, a little bit wide for Thompson. That could cost him, but he'll get the run off the corner. And here comes Palmer. 3 wide. Oh, this isn't going to work. Look at this.
Oh, Ben. Ben. Please no, Ben. This is typical Ben Palmer. He's never one to back out of anything. And look at that. Ross McFarlane somehow makes that work. That was great commitment by Ben Palmer and fantastic respect given by McFarlane. Sutton's just watching this, probably laughing his head off. You know, he's just going to be absolutely loving this. Great racing. Fletcher's going to be doing the same. You can hear his grin from here. One of the happiest men in sim racing, Mark Fletcher, and I'm sure he's loving it to be stuck in there. Don't forget, you've got Evdoka just off the back of this train, but still somehow, amongst all the white, blue and black machinery, Josh Thompson still leads this race in what he calls a slow Ferrari.
Yeah, I have to start asking some questions about that as McFarlane now loses a position to Sutton. So Sutton's moved up a place up into 3rd. But yeah, this lead battle here. But this is where the Ferrari really does struggle when it's to the front of a queue, like it is now. I mean, Palmer's a little bit further back, but he'll rocket up behind. You can see he's gaining and gaining all the time. He's not going to be close enough this time, so there's not going to be any shenanigans happen.
It looked like he could have been in a position to get a really good slingshot, because as I often mention about slipstreaming, you want to start a little bit further away from the car that you're chasing. You don't want to start slipstreaming them from right behind, because you don't get as much of an overspeed. You know, you don't get long enough to build up that momentum. But Ben was just way out of that comfort zone there and could not close up enough. So it's going to be intriguing now to see what the difference is between Josh and Ben's pace. Now they go head-to-head without McFarlane in there, because up to now it seemed like McFarlane was the only one that could match his pace corner for corner. And of course now he's been overtaken by two of his stablemates. Obviously Ben and Ash just in front are now in Pure Sims OBP. Ross is in Pure Sims Esports. So while they are in the same stable of Pure Sims, they're not technically in this championship in the same teams, if that makes sense. But a wonderful train still going on.
And look, he's joining the back of it as well. Michael Avdoka, and not far behind him, Kevin Ostwald. So before long, we're going to have a 7-car train for the lead.
Morgan Butler is going to win this race when this all goes to pot. But no, in all honesty, the respect shown so far by these guys has been absolutely magical. Really has. And it certainly shows you that white, black and blue are the colours to have on your racing car in the last few years. Here is Paulo Munoz, who is the second placed Ferrari in this race. 11 positions gained to get inside the top 10. And again, we've got at least 3 Pure Sims cars on screen.
Yeah, this is a little bit crazy. It's almost as if the people from Pure Sims are involved in organising the series.
Yeah.
But as they come up through the S's here, and I mean, this is the second battle pack then. So you've got that lead 7, and then this is 8th down to, 14th with Chris van der Nest at the back of this queue of cars. So, yeah, it's great that we've got the battle at the front, but we've also got battles going on throughout the field. It's just that lead battle is really intriguing, as there goes Palmer to the lead now.
That looked like a bit of a squeaky moment there for Ben. Now, this is the thing. Josh is figuring which line he wants to take, while Ash Sutton compromises that and goes, right, you're going that way, I'm going to go this way. He's getting pressure from Ross McFarlane. We were just looking a moment ago at Morgan Butler, who was ahead of Pete Harrod, and I'm sure, knowing Morgan, he'll be very pleased with that. Little bit of shenanigans going on here, as you said it before, Paul. But wow, Josh Thompson at the minute, there is that meme of the guy who's got a million screens around him and he doesn't know where to look. I imagine that's Josh right now with all of his monitors and all of his mirrors and everything. But still, I know what Josh is like when he's racing like this. He will, on the outside, look as calm as a cucumber. He'll just be calculating. It's all ones and zeros in Josh's head. I've said this before. He'll just be absolutely on it. And to be fair, I don't envy his position, because he's got Ben Palmer, who's a wonderful racing driver in his own right, raced in the Mini Challenge UK in 2019. Obviously, Ash Sutton, we all know, British Touring Car Championship twice. And then some of the fastest sim racers in the world, you know, Mark Fletcher, Ross McFarlane, Michael Avdoka, some of the very finest.
Now,
I don't envy Josh.
Well, one thing I don't envy for these drivers is the fact that they're catching up to some lap traffic.
Oh no.
David Baker being one of them, and Liam Atkins being the other. So lap traffic may become a factor here into the last 4 minutes of this race. And remember, there's 2 more races of this coming now. Indeed
there is. Oh, nearly wasn't for Josh then, as Ben got very close. Look at that, late on the brakes by Palmer. And what I find interesting is that you've got McFarlane. He's attacking Ash Sutton. There's no other words for it. You know, he's not letting Ash stay in front here. It's Pete Harrod is around. He's managed to bend carbon fibre on the back of his Audi R8. And what has happened here? He's chasing his teammate Morgan Butler. He's got Paulo Munoz behind him. Morgan starts to go defensive. Pete goes all the way over. So Morgan goes back to the apex. Or, well, back to the outside. They're going to come together. Oh, he just picks up the left rear, does Morgan. Paulo Munoz got very lucky. Maybe just a bit of a squeeze there from Morgan, unfortunately. Either that or Pete ran wide. It was a little bit hard to tell. But that's what you get in close racing. But 2 stablemates there, so that won't go down well. But still, here is Ben Palmer, car 2, P2 at the moment. And if you know Ben Palmer, you know that he doesn't like being behind anybody when it comes to a race, because he wants to win. and that's just the instinct that all these guys have. But still, oh, well, hello, Ash Sutton. Flies by. Maybe that was Ben saying, Ash, you go. Like, it's your turn. You try it. What do you reckon?
There was a definite lift of the throttle there from Palmer. So
it was very close to contact, though, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, extremely close. As Brian Lyons, by the way, has had an issue further down, but we're keeping with this lead battle now for the final 2 minutes of this race. Oh my goodness! What are they all doing? They're all compatriots. Sutton and Palmer are teammates.
It's like I was saying a minute ago, Ross McFarlane was definitely not letting Ash just have it easy. He was actually putting the pressure on him because he knows he's got Mark Fletcher behind as well. Believe it or not, it's not another Pure Sims car. But, or is it actually? No, it's not.
No,
Never mind.
Not.
I got it wrong
Altitude
there.
Esports.
Yeah. Oh, no, it is Avdoka. Avdoka's ahead of Fletcher. They have swapped places. I thought it looked different. That is Michael Avdoka behind him. There's a bump there from McFarlane and Palmer. This is truly like civil war in Pure Sims here. This is fantastic to watch. But I imagine the guys at 3M are just covering their eyes at the moment watching in the chat. But wow, this is now... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, remember what happened last time out at Bathurst between the two, Avdoka and Sutton? So, I mean, you know, if you're talking about all-out civil war, this could be round 2 here.
Oh, God. To be endgame. But, I mean, this is going to... If Palmer and McFarlane carry on fighting like this, it's going to turn into the Ashley Sutton and Josh Thompson show, because they're going to start to check out here. You know, we know they've both got the calibre for it. But we've got 1 lap to go now to decide this, Paul. And, well, like you said, mate, this can all get very messy, but it's been a mega racing up to now.
This is where Josh needs the run of his life through the S's. And needs to carry as much speed as possible, because there's the Audi and Sutton has got a really good run here.
He has indeed. Let's see what he can do. Josh will stay over to the right, but he knows himself, you know, you can defend the inside all you want. The two of them, oh come on, boys. There was contact at Bathurst, there was contact again there. Doesn't need to happen. You're driving in a straight line. This is scary stuff. Right together on the exit. More contact, I believe. Behind them, though, Palmer is actually feeling that, well, he felt the need to defend from McFarlane. Doesn't work. Sutton back down the inside. Oh, Josh runs out of road. And now the 2 Pure Sims cars behind that. Avdoka trying to come through as well on McFarlane. Good stuff by Ash Sutton, though. I don't really feel the need for the contact in a straight line, but I think Josh maybe came away from the line slightly. That'll have to get looked at, but this has been awesome driving by all of them. And to be fair, Ash has just gradually picked them off one by one and made his way to the front. You can argue, yes, with a bit of help from Ben Palmer letting him through, but Josh has got a bit deep now. He makes sure that McFarlane has to go to the outside. Oh, he's managed to hold it from Ross, but Ash is now flashing his lights. That's the number 47 of Liam Watkins. He's saying, get out of the way. I've got these nutters behind me. I don't think he's going to need to worry about it, though, because into the final corner. At the end of race 1 of the evening for Pure Sims OBP is Ashley Sutton taking the win. Josh Thompson second, McFarlane third, ahead of Palmer, Avdoka, Fletcher and Ostwald. What a wonderful race that was to watch, Paul. And Morgan Butler, take your hat off, lad. 8th place. Great drive, Morgan. Really, really was. Mega, mega stuff. And your Pro-Am winner is going to be Mike Horder, who finishes 12th. So Morgan finished ahead of all the Pro-Ams as well.
You look at how close the battling is throughout the field here as well. Tremendous stuff. So plenty going on out there. As Jesse... now. Alex Nella's around. What's happened to Alex on this lap?
Looks like he's been boosted into a position he didn't want to be in.
I think he's just done it on himself, by the way.
I'm going to put money on clipping the grass on the outside here.
Yep.
Like that. Oh, I shouldn't laugh, but we've seen it so many times, haven't we, out of there? It's easy to push. It's one of those corners. It feels like it tightens up on the exit. And poor old Alex Nella has to wait. And did it damage that poor Lamborghini as well. Really did suffer. And here is one of the Pure Sims 3M machines further down. David Baker, he'll be gutted after the incident earlier. Innocent bystander, if anything, wasn't he, Paul?
Yeah. Yeah, that was instant down at the toe. It's one of those unfortunate areas where incidents can happen, and and you get caught out with it. A close field, big pack like this, 51 cars in total, although Matt Bunn didn't take the race start. So, yeah, interesting to see how it goes as Baker literally just pulls it over and says, I'm done with that race.
Yeah, indeed. Same with Liam Watkins as well. It can be very disheartening when you spend a lot of the race further down the order and effectively on your own. You know, there's a lot of clear air down there, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily good. That's a nice symmetrical manufacturer spread in the top 10. Ashley Sutton takes your race win. Josh Thompson second place. He'll be still pleased with that. That's a lot of points for him. Ross McFarlane same as well in third. Had a great battle with his teammate Ben Palmer in there. Michael Avdoka finishes fifth ahead of Mark Fletcher, who still will be happy with sixth. Kenneth Ostwald is seventh. Morgan Butler, he will be absolutely overjoyed. I won't hear the end of that for eighth place, but what a great drive that is. Paulo Munoz finishes ninth ahead of Adam Watson, who managed to climb up to 10th place. Andy Scheel was 11th. Mike Horder takes the honours in Pro-Am, just ahead of Chris van der Ness, and then Ben Gregory finishing third in there, 14th overall. Pete Harrod recovered to 15th with Chris Wood in 16th. Matthew Turnbull was 17th with Lee Berridge, Jeroen Kaiser, and Andy Archer rounding out your top 20. Andy was actually second in the AM class in that one. Simon Neller, 21st. Jason Hodgson was 22nd, followed by Kieran Chung and Tom Dadswell, who also got caught up in Dave Baker's spin earlier, but, you know, did the right thing and stayed out of the way. Michael Blake was 25th ahead of Chris Byram, Stephen McCaffrey, Matthew Doyle, Brian Loynes, and his teammate Ross Nicholson, who actually won an endurance race on the weekend after I called him the most unlucky man in sim racing. John Roberts 31st, Simon Field 32nd, with Sean Gardner, Ethan Bass and Jesse Jones just behind. Stuart Nunnan was then 36th ahead of Jake Blackhall. Mark Woodhouse was then 38th with Lars van Rijn, and Nickel Foggy eventually in 40th place. Maybe another issue for Nickel there because he lost a few more places. Alex Neller was 41st, followed by Jason Rowe, Tom Stevens, Lewis Archer, Adam Hedgecock, David Baker, and Liam Atkins, aptly 47th in car 47, despite being the last car on the lead lap. Jim Whitehouse was 1 lap down. Oscar Coper was 8 laps down, with Luke Hobson in 50th. And Matt Spun didn't even get the chance to spin in that race, actually, Paul, did he? Because he had a received throughput at the start, but I imagine he enjoyed watching that race as much as he would have enjoyed racing in it.
He certainly would. One thing we are going to do then is have a look at that last lap, and we're going to look from up above. And these drivers then, we're going to have a look. Josh Thompson, who finished in second place then. This is coming up through the S's here, so turns 2 and 3. You can see the slipstream that Sutton already has here. The question is now, does Thompson move off of that inside line? He is drifting slightly. We'll slow it down for you as well. Yeah, he's just slightly moving across there, ever so slight, but there was touch, and then through the carousel, Thompson hits that curb a little bit, and a little kiss again between the two of them, but Sutton, he's not one for giving up without a fight, and he made that one count. Thompson ran wide, and that was his opportunity gone at that point. It
was such gutsy stuff, and to be fair, you know, it's one of the great rivalries that we've seen blossom in this championship as well. You know, you've got Josh Thompson, one of the very best sim racers on iRacing in the world, and of course Ash Sutton, double British touring car champion. You know, some fantastic, great names in their own rights up against each other on a very level playing field here on iRacing and in this league, and it's just wonderful to see. You know, it is just door-to-door racing. As I say, maybe it's not always there, it's maybe not always necessary contact, but it's part of the racing. Anyway, we'll see who gets the reverse grid here, Paul. Nearly a full reverse there. This might be quite a small one. And there you go. 21. So what will that give us? That will actually give us one of
Simon Neller.
Yeah, one of our absolute heroes from last season, Simon Neller. But interestingly, Andrew Archer, who finished second in the AM class in that one, is going to start second on the grid. So he's going to have a really good advantage now over Morgan Butler. As I said before, you know about the tables turning over the course of an evening. He's going to be way ahead of Morgan. So Morgan would have claimed so many points in that race by finishing 8th. Archer's now the one that gets put to the front, and Morgan gets put further back. So it just keeps these championships so even, but you never know what's going to happen in these races, do you?
Well, I mean, we saw this season and also last season as well when we had Chris Byron end up on pole position for 2 of the first 3 races. We've seen how these drivers can, when they're in the amateur championship, pick up so many points just from being in and around that reverse grid spot. And it's definitely going to be interested to see how this one pans out for Andrew here. Your own Kaiser is a feisty one for the second row of the grid, along with Lee Berridge. Now, Lee's not one for backing down out of a fight either. I know that from experience. But there's going to be a bit of a rivalry there as well.
I've made a terrible mistake.
You're thinking of Alex Neller, aren't you?
I am. Alex has just put it in the chat. I'm so sorry, mate. But still,
it's Neller. A Neller on pole.
It's a Neller, basically. Yes. I'm very excited either way. You know, it's going to be a belter because this could be Simon's. Well, it will be his first pole position in this championship. There's a lot of pressure that goes into starting from the front row of these grids. Trust me, I've spun it from pole here at turn 1 when I got put on reverse grid pole, which was definitely a highlight of my career. But no, this is going to be intriguing, because there was a lot of feisty stuff going on there, a lot of slipstreaming. Yeah. The guys that have got the pros coming through from behind, they're going to have the wits about me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the speed difference. So, I mean, really though, if you happen to be in a slipstream going up that back straight, if you get a semi-decent run through the S's and have the slipstream up the back straight, then I think that actually they won't do too bad, because they'll be able to hold on with that slipstream effect happening for them. So it can work out in your favour, can this track? I mean, I once, in a completely different championship, I once had a reverse grid, and it was me and one other guy who, unfortunately, the other person was determined to fight me rather than work with me to pull away from the rest of the field. And we ended up both losing out on a win because the fast guys, the pros, worked their way through and came past on the final lap of the race. So you've got to be careful with it. You've got to think the long game here, and you can't just think, right, I'm at the front of the race, I have to defend like my life depends on it. You can't go in with that attitude. Think the long game. Think, right, okay, I'm maybe not fighting against a Pete Harrod or Adam Watson or people like that who will work in the way forward. Yeah. Pick up as many points as you can here, because it's a relatively small reverse grid. That final race reverse grid could end up being full. So yeah, you never know, like I say. And like you say, picking your battles, that's the key thing to do here, isn't it? Especially in a championship as competitive as this one. It's always going to be the case that we have some drivers that want to fight to the very death, and then you have other drivers all the way through the order that just, they pick their battles at the right time and they manage to get strong results out of it. But we've seen a bit of both, haven't we? Really, over our time in racing and in commentating on it as well. Yeah, we certainly have, and it can be very exciting, and basically these drivers, they produce tremendous race. I mean, we saw a tremendous race in there in that first race. Long may it continue for the second and third races. Yeah, indeed. And speaking of said second and third races, we're just going to go to a quick ad break, everybody, and we'll be back with you in a few minutes. And trust us, stick around, because these are going to be absolutely belting.
Hello again, everybody. We are here for the World GT Championship at Watkins, Glen, the fourth meeting in Season 9, the start of the second quarter of this fantastic championship. Chaz Draycott and Paul Smith here in the booth with you this evening on RaceSpotTV. Very excited about this one. We've had a wonderful start to the evening, Paul, with that first race. Some mega racing at the front, a few spins and incidents here and there, and a wonderful performance by a very certain AM driver as well, to highlight things outside. Well, just inside the top 10, actually. But reverse grid now. Plenty more action to come.
Do you know what would be a good idea is if I switched on my microphone on the stream? You could hear me, but the rest of them couldn't hear me. Anyway.
You don't want to hear what Paul said about me when he pointed at me.
But anyway, what I can tell you is that, yeah, it was a tremendous first race of the evening. These next two of the races, they're going to be a little bit different. Because of it being a reverse grid, you're going to be seeing a bit more overtaken in this one, which will mean a thing, rather than just swapping back and forth between a few of the drivers out there. One thing the drivers do have to contend with as well is the weather. Partly cloudy. My goodness.
Oh, Eds. Sorry. There was John Roberts, I think that was, just launched himself over one of the Pure Sims cars. But yeah, you're right. That's pretty warm, that, to be honest. 44 degrees Celsius is not the most friendly of track temps, is it?
No, especially, I mean, for the start of the race, it's not going to be too bad. The cold tyres will still take effect, but in the second half of the race, and really sort of when they're pushing on, and especially with those drivers that are trying to work their way through from who finished in the top two, for instance, out of that first race, they're just going to be starting feeling those tyres not being quite peak performance. But with this car, we're lucky because the tyres are built for endurance events, so you can push these tyres a little bit more than you can, say, in say one of the front-wheel drive Audi TCR cars, for instance.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
that's true.
You've got that difference there.
And yeah, and I think the balance of that is looking after the fronts. Of course, you want that initial turn in, you want the mid-corner grip as well. We know that the fronts are the main tyres that you want to work on, but some of these guys, they run very low traction control. They run really rearward brake bias. You know, they heat up the rears quite a lot. They will have to look after those rears as well, because traction off the corner is a massive thing here at Watkins Glen, especially when you're going up through the toe. I mean, even out of the heel as well. You're going up towards the long left-hander. You need good traction out of there, out of the last corner, and, you know, the first corner even. You know, up the hill towards the S's and then on the back straight. There are so many important traction zones on this circuit that these tyres are going to get worked in a lot. Maybe one of the bonuses they could have, which was something that got pointed out to me last night, was there's a lot of camber around here on a lot of these corners. You know, with the camber that the tyres run, they might sit flat to the surface and it won't ruin the inside edge of the tyres so much over the course of a run. But like you say, they're made for endurance racing. Some of the drivers will push them because they know that, but some of them take liberties with it, don't they?
They certainly do. And they will push these tyres to the extreme, and you will see that here because of the fact that they can push these tyres hard. So definitely you will see that. But we're getting all set for the second race here.
We are indeed, and another massive grid for us to fly through. But the first reverse grid of the evening then. Simon Neller, not Alex, on pole position alongside Andy Archer with your own Kaiser and Lee Berridge on row 2, followed by Matthew Turnbull and Chris Wood. Watch out for both of those guys. They are very quick indeed. We've got Pete Harrod and Ben Gregory on row 4. Chris van der Ness and Mike Horder round out your top 10. Andy Schill and Adam Watson, two more very, very quick drivers in there. Keep an eye on Pete Harrod, actually. That's definitely a good shout for a race win potential here. Previous champion. Paulo Munoz lines up alongside Morgan Butler, his teammate, with RSR Esports Kenneth Oswald alongside Mark Fletcher. We then have the Pure Sims train. Michael Avdoka alongside Ben Palmer, with Ross McFarlane, Josh Thompson in the mix as well. Of course, Ash Sutton, race 1 winner, starting 21st. He's joined by Jason Hodgson on the 11th row. Kieran Chung then lines up alongside Tom Dadswell. We then have Michael Blake 25th, ahead of Chris Byram, who's no stranger to a reverse grid pole. Stephen McCaffrey 27th alongside Matthew Doyle for Nomad Sim Racing. Then the two Sim Stickers racing drivers, Brian Loynes and Ross Nicholson, round out 30. Behind them, we have John Roberts and Simon Field for Boosted. Then another Boosted car, Sean Gardner alongside Ethan Bass. Jesse Jones will be hoping for more from 35th, ahead of Stuart Nunnan in 36th place. We have then Jake Blackhall and Mark Woodhouse, who of course had issues on lap 1 last time, same with Lars van Rijn. Nickel Foggy, championship leader coming into this race meeting. He will want a very strong drive through with a potential reverse grid bonus at the end. Alex Neller, not Simon Neller, is 41st alongside Jason Rowe in 42nd. Tom Stevens lines up with Lewis Archer, with Adam Hedgecock and David Baker just behind. Car 47, P47 for Liam Atkins alongside James Whitehouse in 48th. And then we have Oscar Coper and Luke Hobson rounding out the back of the grid. And by the look of it, Matt Bunn has decided to be a spectator for the evening.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way, doesn't it? But,
I don't blame him. It's a great show.
Well, we are biased, but
slightly.
We've got the rather unique paint job on that boosted car at the front of the field, taking full advantage of the spec map. That's the words I was looking for. And so the rest of the field work their way through here. Full pace lap here, so we get a bit of time to say the grid, whereas compared to other rounds, we have to fire off those grid positions as quickly as possible.
We do, yeah. You've got to stick it in full auto and just smash them out, really. But yes, it's a bit more time for drivers to get in their own heads as well. It's an important difference around something like this, where such as Monza or Spa, for example, you know, you park and line up with just a few corners to go before the, in inverted commas, pace lap. So here, when you've got a whole lap of it, you're in the car, you've got to move it and get on with it and think about where you are and what you're doing a long time before the race has even got underway. And some of these drivers, you know, they have their own little sort of checklists in their heads to go over, thinking about the race to come. Other drivers get in their own heads a lot, and they build up the nerves for this. And I mean, I've heard real racing drivers say that this is just as nerve-wracking as real motorsport a lot of the time, which shows how well that sim racing does it, doesn't it? Well,
some real drivers, when it comes to the sim racing aspect, they get even more nervous because it's a little bit outside of their comfort zone, is this? Whereas those that are involved in sim racing all the time, it's familiar to them. So we'll see how the things go here, but we're getting ready for the start of the second race.
Yeah, it's especially more nerve-wracking if you've got three names around you. Simon Neller then, front of the grid. There's Barney with his flag. And he's going to suddenly get all the dust off it. There it goes. Field is underway. Looks like a really, really good start from one of the boosted cars there going through. I think that was Lee Berridge making an absolute corker of a getaway. Managed to get up to third place already. Good start. He was on the outside. There's a bit of shenanigans in the middle. They looked like they were 3, nearly 4 wide there with all the Pure Sims machinery. That was Ash Sutton, Ross McFarlane, Ben Palmer, Josh Thompson, the guys that were fighting at the front of the other one. There's an incident. Oh, there's cars around at the top of the hill. We're going to get a yellow flag for that one.
Oh, my goodness.
Surely.
Yes, we are.
Massive yellow.
Yep, that track's... Yeah, that's absolutely decimated the field.
I've tried to throw it, but it won't let me. There has been a caution thrown, unfortunately, in the end by Andy Shield. Believe me when I was saying that I'm trying to throw that. We do have the access to do that here, so the guys don't have to worry about that when racing, but it seems that good old Chaz doesn't have the rights to that at the minute. You can see them just trying to filter away. But we said this before, didn't we, Paul? This was going to happen. As I
Josh
think
Thompson was involved in that. The 127 McFarlane, yep. There's all sorts of... Oh, dearie me.
Jim White, Foggy is in there. Jim Whitehouse.
We'll try and sort of figure out what's happened here.
I think Harrod might have been one of the catalysts, you know, because he seemed to drop down the order before it all kicked off. But, oh no, there he is. He slowed down. I think the Paceworks car, that was Watson, tried to move out of the way because he saw it happening in front of him, and then nothing from there. You know, just a tiny bit of contact, and that was it.
Let's go on board with Pete Harrod and see what on earth happened for him there. So he's got one of the... he's got the number 5 there alongside, which is Andrew Archer. Up the hill. Oh, contact! It was contact with... Oh, that was Ben Gregory, I believe.
Yeah, not good. But this is the thing, you know, these cars are so easy to understand. Wow, somebody went space shuttle status there as well. He's probably going to come down somewhere.
I'm going to rewind and have a look from Ben Gregory's point of view then. See what happened from his point of view. See if it was a little bit of a squeeze here or not. He is alongside, is Ben.
No, I'm not sure. Not sure. It's difficult because the thing is, like I said, they're dealing with such tiny margins, aren't they? As they go up there. Let's have a look again. So Gregory's got the Pure Sims out in front of him. He's gone a bit slow through there, as Pete. Oh, I don't know, you know, because Ben wasn't really anywhere away from the apex, was he? You know, he was doing what he was doing. And Pete, I don't think he knew that... I don't think he knew that Ben was that far alongside. I mean, I say that far alongside. There was barely an overlap, was there? But either way...
Yeah, Stuart Noonan, by the way, was already on pit road, I believe, when all that... No, sorry, it was Mike Horder that was already on pit road. So something happened before... Oh, no, Mike was involved in that. Sorry.
I think he's just jumped out as quickly as possible, hasn't he?
Oh,
Josh hit him. Josh slammed on as well.
Yeah, he was the one who got sent flying. So that's what happened to Horder. And his shield had... I mean, look at the state of that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I've actually seen this in real life.
Yeah, it happened at Macau, didn't it?
Well, it happened here. In a Porsche race. And it was it basically blocked the track and they called the red flag. That was how bad it was. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what can happen there.
Yeah, indeed. It's just part of the racing, you know. It's a massive bottleneck, isn't it? Massive bottleneck. So, a real shame to see it, but I mean, we mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. We're just having a... there is just a quick discussion going on as well, by the way, over on there. There may be a new session going up because there is a bit of an issue with some of the details in this session, it seems. So we're just keeping our eyes on that. So apologies if we go quiet. We are doing... I mean, Paul does 1,000,001 things at once anyway, and I commend him massively for that. But we're both trying to just sort this situation out as well. It seems there's no fast repairs.
Well, now here's the question that I've got to ask here, because it was brought up last season, and that is, what? In fact, they're coming into pits. I think this race is getting abandoned. This race start is getting abandoned here. Well, this is almost unprecedented. I say almost, but yeah. Now, I need to consult the rule book here, because I have to ask, where last season it was brought up that there was no fast repairs in sprint races. So there's that. Has that rule changed this season? I need to look at that for you. If you want to just quickly talk over the top of what we're seeing, which is not a lot, so we'll bring
There's an apex. There's an apex. There's another apex. There's some trees that have definitely not been copy and pasted. I do love these panning shots, though, by the way.
Yes,
Absolutely
Hugo does
wonderful.
an amazing job. He really does with these. And why don't we? Normally, here's what normally happens in this championship here. With this series, it's usually 3 20-minute races. This is what the second. This is the second. This is the second time that we've had a red flag in 2 seasons.
It is actually, yeah. It is. Because obviously we had the issue at Daytona last season. And that was down to the whole server went down.
Yes.
And well, they had no choice, And poor Adam Watson that time round. It's just.
So I have looked. I have consulted the manual, the rule book. There should indeed be one fast repair. So therefore, due to issues with the session, I think it's the correct decision to restart that one, because it gives those people who were caught up in the instant there at the top of the S's to be able to get a reset of they should be able to benefit from getting points.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, the guys are doing a quick turnaround on this, which Josh has just pointed out in the Discord as well, which we've got going on. The fact that in these situations, the main thing that people need to remember is when you have league admins that are doing such a job like this, you have to go with pleasing the majority, not the minority. There's some drivers that got a mega start in that. They benefited from that massively. But at the end of the day, you have to please the majority. You're never going to please everybody. We all know that, and especially not sim races. But you have to go for pleasing the majority, don't you, in these things? And at the end of the day, the guys do a good job of this. And we all make these mistakes with setting sessions up. I did a thing in boring cars where I set a race up for the wrong track. Brilliant. That's the biggest mess you could make of it, because at the end of the day, you'd never see that happen in real life, because you wouldn't just wake up and be at another circuit. But it's part of the job that these guys do, and I must commend them. You and I, Paul, we've both run leagues before. We know how difficult it is, how much goes on, and especially a league of this caliber as well. So we'll get into the session. And
I need confirming which session to go into.
Yes, that's a good point. I think what they may have done is, because the race has started in one of them, it may have advanced past it. Although it says that one of them began 14 minutes ago. Yeah, one of them began 14 minutes ago. So it's clearly not that one. But either way, everybody, we appreciate your patience. We will get all this sorted. This is going to become. Well, it's not quite radio, is it? Because we do have visuals. Although there is a new session up now, which is very clear to us. It's what you love, isn't it? Oh, but this is the thing, isn't it, Paul? Championships like this, they throw you curveballs now and then, and we love it.
No, not when this happens.
But
this is no different to there being a red flag for, say, barrier repairs, for example, or for a track blockage.
Yeah,
it's no different to that. It's giving these drivers an opportunity again to be able to get back out there and be able to run the start again. So I am just trying to get myself into the race session now myself. So that's what we're doing right now. So yes, this is where you then turn into test match special. Start talking about. Now, unfortunately, there's not an ice cream van that we can see to be able to say, "Oh, yes, they're doing still in business in the ice cream van." Mind you, the price of 99s now is ridiculous, and those of you outside of the UK, you probably don't know what we're talking about right now.
No.
But
You're missing out. Although, to be fair, the fact that it's still called a 99,
yes.
I love that. It's just takes the mick all the way. I do have the story to tell of the dead plant that I was going to show you before the broadcast, which my girlfriend drunkenly spent a lot of money on that has now died in my office because, you get a load of natural light in here, don't you? But either way, it's part of our job, isn't it? We talk a lot. We talk more than most people do, and that's why we're here.
Well, do you know what? So we say about real races that this has happened in the past. I brought up that Porsche event that happened at this very circuit at Watkins Glen, but also my mind always goes back to the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix, where the track was completely blocked and they had to restart the race. So it's not like it's unprecedented in the real world. So why not? Have that in
the track was blocked unless you were... Was it Esteban Tuero? No, it wasn't Tuero because he drove from Minardi. He was in that Tyrrell that came in at full chat and got fined for it. Because in his eyes, the track wasn't blocked.
Takagi, was it?
I think it might have been.
That.
I think it might have been Takagi. Because in his eyes, the track wasn't blocked by anything. He was just,
£1.50 for a 99. That is ridiculous. JRF in the chat. That is ridiculous. That amount of cost.
I bet that's without a flake as well. No sprinkles, no sauce, no nothing.
Oh, now you see, it does a 99. Now, is a 99 with sauce?
No, it's not, is it? Let's face it. 99 with a flake. Mortgage.
But I do like the sauce on top, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. Adds a bit more to it, doesn't it? Adds a bit more to it. Either way, thank you everybody for your comments so far. We do love the fact that all of you do get involved. You help us sort of get an extra opinion on what goes on in these races. We're not always correct up here in the commentary box. Let's face it. There's a theme of commentators not being correct, as many people have heard from me. I'm
Shock!
Sure.
Really? Commentators making mistakes?
Oh no! Although, right, I want to say this out loud, rib everyone to watch. I started listening, and I'm gutted, I'm disappointed in myself for not listening to it earlier. But I started listening to Murray Walker's audiobook the other day. His, if I'm not mistaken. And he reads it all himself, and I love it. I'm a huge fan of Murray, but I've never really been into audiobooks or podcasts or anything. I've started getting into them. They are fantastic when you just drive into places, when I pick my son up and so on. And I didn't know that Murray's not really called Murray.
Yeah.
He's Graham Murray Walker.
Yes.
And I was like, what? But it's because his dad was Graham Walker, so he didn't want to be Graham Walker Jr., and Murray sounded better, he thought. So, yeah, Murray Walker is called Graham. There you go.
Absolutely.
There's a commentary fact for you, but well, still, what a guy though. What a guy. He tells the story of how he used to be in the army in World War II, driving tanks,
he was a tank
the way
commander.
he progressed.
He took the surrender of some Nazis in Italy.
Yes,
because they didn't want to surrender to the locals.
Yeah, and he said one of the strangest things that he ever saw was that they were bounding across through. I think they were going through Belgium. And his father had been sent out into the war as a journalist and a reporter. And he saw 4 men in uniform they didn't recognise on 2 BMWs that they'd commandeered from the Germans, 2 BMW motorbikes, and rode him over. And he thought, that looks like my dad. And in the middle of the war, it's his dad. Like, can you believe that? It's just, he tells a hell of a story. And even if you're not... even if you're not into commentators, I mean, let's face it, if you see us two every week, you probably won't be. But if you honestly get a chance to listen to Murray Walker's audiobook, it's not just about him getting excited at motorsport. It is an incredible life story, and honestly, do listen to it. It's phenomenal. And this was not a paid endorsement. But yeah, we've got 2 more races coming up.
Yes,
and I cannot wait. Hopefully we won't see that again. Hopefully I've got access to throw a yellow flag this time. But yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. You never know. This is sim racing. It's mega. But
I certainly don't have access to throw a yellow flag, that's for sure. But
no.
So that's one thing. It's certainly worth you just checking, Chaz, just to
Bear with
little
me.
bit of behind the scenes thing. If you're an admin on a iRacing series, you can right click on the person's name and it gives you a little drop down list of all the different options that you got. And if
yeah, I've got 3 options.
yeah, so we still don't have access to throw a yellow flag. So unfortunately for them, that's going to be on the admins to do that. It's not our decision to make, Chaz.
Well, that takes the stress off me. Cheers, bunny.
Just people mentioning Game of Pool costs £1 now. Absolutely, I'm a Yorkshireman. It should be 20p for life. That's
20p a month.
You put down your 20p's on the table. That's it. You know, playing pool. Good news is, by the way. So we're going to do 2 things. First of all, I'm going to say, whilst we're on here, make sure, if you are enjoying this, to make sure you subscribe to the RaceSpotTV channel. You can also follow us on all the social media. Well, not all the social media. Some of the social media out there as well. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we're on there as well. We're on Twitch as well. In fact, Monday Night Skippies will be actually live right now on YouTube and Twitch, so make sure you watch that afterwards, because you want to be watching this. But you can see cars out there on track, and we've got about a minute before we start the gridding process again. And I am correct, there were 2 drivers who had an incident on the warm-up lap.
Oh, heck.
Of that aborted start. So there you go.
I imagine that went down like a cup of cold sick. But don't forget as well, at Smileable, at Chaz Draycott, if you're on Twitter. You can follow us and my terrible opinions on people's liveries on iRacing. Now,
or you can follow mine and see a cormorant. I've never seen a cormorant until Thursday last week.
I saw one today. I was in Chester and I looked in the mirror and I saw one today. My brother, if he watches this back, I hope he's in the chat. He will, honestly. There's a bit in Chester where the river goes and it breaks down into, like, it looked kind of like a rapids. I don't know what it's called. But there was a cormorant bobbing about in there and it was the most strange thing. We saw it and he went, "Did you see that?" And it was one of their moments. But yes, go on Paul's Twitter if you want to see a cormorant. At Smileables, down there. I never remember which way to go on this camera. Anyway, names in the hat for this second race win. What do you reckon, Paul? There's plenty of them.
I think a driver driving a car will do very well indeed.
One with 4 wheels.
Absolutely. Right, well, the gridding up. We don't need to go through the grid again. We can quickly show it up on screen whilst we talk about this, because finally, although that is if my grid option would let me do that.
Oh,
there we go. There we go. It's
love
fantastic. You. So there's your front 3 rows of the grid there. As I mentioned, we don't need to sort of say everybody's positions, but we might as well just give people a little bit of love and show their starting positions to remind everyone where they are. But yes, second time lucky, second time's a charm. So we'll see what happens here in this one. And remember, if you are needing a master of ceremonies for weddings, bar mitzvahs, anything like that, myself and Chaz are available, because we can talk incoherently for many hours.
We can indeed. It may not be about anything interesting, but we can certainly talk. But it's an interesting grid, this, because even outside of where the reverse grid was, there is still a good mix of drivers and different classes as well. And you've got Nickel Foggy down there as well, your current championship leader before this race meeting anyway, 40th place. He had recovered further than that before the end of the race, so I'm not sure what happened to him there. Same with David Baker as well. You know, I'm pretty sure he ended up higher than 46, but he was one of the first cars the leaders came across when they got to traffic. So, hopefully, and I'm going to say this very hopefully, these guys have learned from what happened last time and chill out. But, Paul, let's be realistic. Are they?
It's sim races. They're going to go and bin it into turn number 2 and 3, because that's what happens with competitive people who maybe don't have that level of competence that that most drivers in real world racing have. You got to remember as well, though, with this championship, you have got a wide spread of ability, and which is why the admins separate the championship drivers into Pro-Am and Am, and there will be a review of the categories after this round. So there may be some changes happen come next week, but yeah, you get that wide range of abilities out there, and that's what makes this championship so appealing, because it means that somebody like, and I'm just going to pick a name at random, someone like Lewis Archer can be on the same track as a two-time touring car champion in Ash Sutton and a current iRacing World Championship driver in Josh Thompson. Where else in sim racing or real world racing do you see that, really? Maybe in an endurance race, perhaps, but that's it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the spread of talent is what... wow, hello, voice. The spread of talent is what makes series like this so interesting, and all over iRacing you get it, and it is a beautiful thing. You know, a lot of people... I've seen it recently where there are some pro drivers and real-world drivers. There was a few incidents in a long race where, you know, they were lapping a car that maybe made a bit of a questionable move, but like you say, they don't have that sort of knowledge of what's the best thing to do or how to assess the situation. You know, everyone has different opinions on it everywhere. Anyway, there's no right or wrong way. This driver made a bit of a silly move, as it looked at the time, and cost a pro real-world driver a position. The real-world driver then went on a tirade of telling them they shouldn't be in the series and all this on Discord, which, you know, is completely unfair. You know, everyone is on a level playing field, and that's why we love this sort of stuff. But either way, away from me getting very deep and...
Let's get off a soapbox now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm about to fall off my chair. But, in all fairness, I'm on the edge of my seat already, because race 2.5 is about to get underway with Simon Neller at the front of the pack.
Look at that. Backing them right up this time.
Barney with the flag. Barney waves the flag, and Lee Berridge has done the same again. Look at that. She's like, right, it worked last time. Absolutely love it. Up into second place this time. He's gone one better. He went third place last time, but great start by Lee Berridge. You've got to love it. Plenty of fanning out in the background. The Pure Sims guys bullying Josh Thompson once again. Simon Neller still leads the way then. They go up the S's. Hopefully people chilling out this time. Any cars sideways? Any cars around? It looks a little bit cleaner. Is there anyone in the wall? No, look at that. See? Everybody's behaving themselves. That's what we love to see, Paul. But what a sighty sound this championship is. You've got to love GT3 racing.
Oh, it's fantastic as Lee Berridge going for the lead into the carousel, but Simon Neller's staying there. Remember, cold tyres are a thing here, so you will struggle for grip. Look at this. Berridge is very aggressive from the start here, and the Pro-Am driver up ahead, one of his fellow Pro-Am championship rivals, up into the lead.
Great stuff there. Really eager start by Berridge. That was eager by Simon Neller. Chucks it down the inside. Your own Kaiser now takes the lead. Lee Berridge had a bit of contact there. I don't think he knew that Kaiser had gone down the inside. It was very opportunistic stuff. But behind them, you've got Matt Turnbull, who is, of course, a pro driver, so he's going to be very quick, theoretically. Down the inside he goes on Simon Neller. Bit of a mistake. Oh, Andrew Archer has gone off the circuit and is dropping down. Oh, there's a few cars. There's a bit of a blockage. Oh, we've got one of the... That's Matthew Doyle, is it not? Having a moment
Matthew Doyle
there.
is involved in that one. Oh, there's a number of cars off there.
Sounds like a number of them have avoided it at least, but there are some guys getting caught out at the back, unfortunately, still getting going.
Yeah, they certainly are, but they have all kept going, though. That's the main thing, as we'll look back to the front of the field, because it is pretty close. Your own Kaiser putting the pressure on. And speaking of pressure, my goodness!
Brake pressure.
Neller just launched that one down the inside. And I think Kaiser just got out of it to avoid an accident as his teammate Chris Wood now goes past.
That was feisty, to say the least. Very feisty, absolutely love that, but maybe a bit of a loss of control and just a good save. But Pete Harrod has gained 5 spots. I said earlier, keep an eye on Pete. He's now second overall. There is this wonderful battle, though, just behind them. Jerome Kaiser trying to put pressure back on Adam Watson. As we look forward, though, there is the 777 Audi. Simon Neller, the boosted Jericho machine. Certainly a striking-looking car. I believe Ben Gregory is the man behind those liveries. Interesting colour combos as well. Lovely spec maps, and look at this. Door-to-door racing once again. And I'll say again about that BMW, it does look like someone just whacked a beefy body kit on a touring car against that little Audi, doesn't it? But look at the run that Watson gets out of there. We saw that in race 1, actually. That's really worked for him.
It has. That outside line can work for you as long as the car on the inside gives you the space. So definitely good to see that. This is battling all the way down this field here. Ash Sutton's already up to 13th in this one. Thompson's up to 15th. So they're working their way through. Andy Shield is trying to show his nose here as look behind. Palmer, he's on the move.
It was Andrew Archer, you know, that got involved in that incident before. Brian Lloydens and Jason Hodgson as well, by the look of it. Jesse Jones has gained 13 places in this race so far in just a lap, well, 2 laps. Jake Blackall's gained 10. Ben Palmer has gained 8. Ash Sutton has gained 8 as well. So they're really flying early on, some of these guys. And this is the difference between some of these performances over the course of the night, isn't it, Paul? Being able to manage the traffic and pick off positions one by one. Some drivers get a little bit stuck, as in the background there, that looked like, was that Kenneth Oswald and Ross McFarlane?
I don't know about those two,
back.
but Ev Doka was getting very close indeed there.
Down the inside he goes to the carousel. Josh Thompson looking for the open door as well. Very close to contact, car running wide.
Oh, there's a car off.
Oh, Josh Thompson's in that. Oh, and he's come back across, and this car's over. Oh, that was Lee Berridge, wasn't it?
So Lee Berridge went off. I think we're clear. Oh my goodness, we'll get a look at this. Oh. What on earth happened in all of this?
I think it may have been the car in front of Ash Sutton, which was Lee
Ross
Berridge.
McFarlane stopped as well.
There was contact with Horder as well. Oh, Horder backed out of it. I think Ash made contact with Berridge, I think.
It's Skittles. That's exactly what you have in there. It's just absolute Skittles there.
Munoz is in it. I think Berridge going around with after contact with Sutton and then hard onto the brakes. Horder needed to get out of it, and then he got hit. He's actually carried on though. He's 17th at the moment, Mike Horder, but again, just really unfortunate check-up of circumstances. And Ross Nicholson is in the pits. He's now going back down the timing order, but Matt Turnbull and Pete Harrod, 2 Pure Sim stablemates leading the way. But look at this in the middle now. Sutton continuing after that, so he got away with that incident. Like I say, not sure who was at fault. Ash was the one doing the chasing, Berridge was the one doing the defending. Andy Shields having to do a bit of defending as well. He's got Mark Fletcher right behind him. This is going to get feisty. Ben Palmer in there now.
Oh, let's behave, boys, now. Come on.
Yeah. Fletcher's just trying to decide which way he wants to go, whether he attacks Andy, whether he defends from Ash. He's down the inside of Shield. Going to get barbecued while he's there. Oh, he's actually carried really nice pace down the inside. Sutton down the inside of Palmer as well. Fletcher across the front of Shield. And now Sutton's going to go around the outside of Andy. Or is he? So close. This is the thing, though. Some of these drivers have such great awareness of the space that their cars have. And sometimes others push the envelope a little bit too much. And you can see there really good awareness from Ash just to hang off Andy's corner panel, but not touch him. So close indeed. And they're close again as they go over the crest of the hill, Paul.
Certainly are, as Shield and Palmer now. Palmer to the inside.
Oh, the contact in front.
And
Nella.
that's Nella.
I think Fletcher maybe down the inside. Now, does he?
He's done a good job. He's done a good job there. He held his brakes so that drivers could work their way through, and then got going when there was a gap. So no, that's very smart. And I think Fletcher maybe. Well, we'll see what happens here.
So he's quite far back there. Does Nella maybe make a mistake and Fletcher tries to get on the apex? Oh, Fletcher's way later on the brakes. I think Nella just broke early and Fletcher didn't really know what to do with it.
That is a little ambitious, though, in my opinion. That one.
Yeah.
Even if you're that far, he was quite a ways back, and it's almost as if he because he was caught out by the braking of Nella, just decided, well, I have to throw it down the inside, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up having an accident there. By the way, Matt Turnbull, What a drive for Matt. He's now 2.3 seconds ahead of Pete Harrod.
That Lamborghini is really flying at the moment. Pure Sims 3M machine. There's Ben Palmer around the outside of Mark Fletcher. Ash Sutton in there as well. Right together. Ben's trying to open that door for Ash. Mark is hanging it around the outside though. Fair play to him. Nearly contact again. They're so close together. A bit of a movement.
That was a mistake from Fletcher.
Yeah, Sutton's down the inside. He senses that straight off the bat. Maybe a bit of a touch around the toe there. Evdoka wants a bit of it.
It's hit the grass.
Oh, big chuck sideways. Evdoka in it. Fletcher's trying to get the car back on, but he's found the damage. That's a very broken Audi.
That was all the grass. That was just touching that grass on the outside there. We'll have another look then. We'll have a look from on board Evdoka's car, because Evdoka, you'll see, has nowhere to go in this one.
Yeah, wasn't a touch by the look of it there, but like you say, they were far apart. Just that is literally the limit that these guys are on, isn't it? It happens so quickly.
Yeah, it's and here he comes onto pit road to get his fast repair. So yeah, last season you wouldn't have been able to do that in this championship, in the sprint races, to get a fast repair. That wasn't available to them, but they've decided to bring that back for this season. Meanwhile, Kenneth Ostwald finds himself in 9th place with Jesse Jones, the impressive Jesse Jones, in 10th place.
Yeah, Jesse Jones doing a good job so far in this race. 25 places gained. So biggest mover in the field. Actually, no, biggest mover in the field is Oscar Coper, Jesse's teammate. 26 positions gained. David Baker's got 25. Tom Stevens 23. So some really good survival drives through the pack here. And of course, don't forget we have another reverse grid at the end of this. So we're going to have even more shenanigans in the final race. There's some great battles going on all the way through the pack though. And as we continue to look at Jesse Jones, sorry, not Jesse Jones, that's Kenneth Ostwald, the 277. Jesse Jones is right behind the two sister cars. Andy Shield just in front, racing the McLaren again. Now Andy was racing the McLaren a couple of seasons ago actually, the Sim Sports USA machine. And I honestly don't have a clue how people drive that car. Honestly, it's an absolute animal at high speed stuff. But, you know, he worked with Ben Palmer and Pete Harrod to really get that car dialed in. They made it such a fast machine. It really is. So Andy wringing the neck of it at the moment. Just trying to keep these two RSR cars behind. He seems on very similar pace, doesn't he? He's going well here. Well,
as they go across the line again. And yeah, just 0.3 of a second covering the two of them. Oh, we've got a car wide. That's Ash Sutton. Sutton's careful with the rejoin. He's going to be compromised here. And here comes Ostwald. And Sutton has just squeezed enough that Ostwald had to get out the power there.
Yeah, there was no need trying to push it too hard down the inside. It's all well and good getting close to the back of him. Looks like he's very close to the back of him right now, to be fair.
Here comes Jones, by the way.
Yeah, Jesse sees the open door. Thank you very much, Kenneth. But this is the thing now. These two RSR cars really have to work together to try and get by Ash Sutton. It's no easy feat. And there's Pure Sims cars all around them as well. That's one of the things about this series. Is no matter where you are on track, you always seem to have a Pure Sims car around you. It was similar to when it was CQR as well a few seasons ago. And driving for CQR myself, even I felt like that. You know, sometimes, even if you're in the same team as some of the guys, it doesn't mean you're not a target. And that's part of the fun of it in a championship like this, you know, because you are split into a number of different teams, 3 cars each. You all still race against each other very much. Mr. Jones showing his nose a little bit there, a bit late to get back onto the racing line though, and maybe a tiny compromise. But Ben Palmer, he's at the front of quite the train here, Paul, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got what he's in 5th place. It goes down to 11th place with Cole Foggy at the back of that queue. There's a little gap to Gregory and Van der Ness. So there's a few racing further down. In fact, Gregory's gone off.
Oh,
I think he's hit the gravel on the outside. Oh, that's it, Ben.
I think he's hit the wall as well. There was a lot of tyre marks across the road. It looks like he, like you say, hit the grass and it's gone over to the left side of the circuit. and then spun off the wall really aggressively. It didn't look like the front was too badly damaged though, really, did it?
Well, let's find out what happened here. So through the penultimate corner, he's going to run wide over that curb. There you go. Bang! Into the tyre wall as well. The tyre wall, actually, it is more favourable to hit the tyre wall rather than the Armco there, but he still will have some damage to the front of that car.
Yeah, it won't feel great after that, let's face it. It's not going to be the finest handling machine in the world.
Harrod's lost his position to Watson. Watson's on a charge here, trying to get first place, but it's just under 7 minutes, and there's 3 seconds covering first and second place.
Last time out, Watson was 0.4 of a second quicker than Matt Turnbull as well, so he's doing a fine job at the minute, but I'm not sure whether he'll close in that quickly. This is your own Kaiser, who's lost out to Jesse Jones on this lap. He's also going to lose out to Kenneth Ostwald. Nickel Foggy is right behind these lot. Nickel Foggy has gained 29 spots in this race, Paul. What a guy Nickel Foggy is. He won last time out at Bathurst with a wonderful drive, and here he is again for Pure Sims OBP. Back in the saddle, Nickel Foggy. I hadn't seen him racing for quite a while, but we know just how unbelievably talented this lad is.
Yeah, he's not bad. No, he's an incredible driver. It's the level of consistency that he shows as well is what really stands him out in that team. Down towards turn 1 and down to the inside. That's Kenneth Ostwald then losing the position.
Nice tidy stuff from Foggy, but Kenneth's going to try and get the run on him. If he does get any slipstream up the hill though, it's going to be very close to the back of him, so I don't think he can do too much about any sort of overspeed. It'll be interesting to see what Foggy does about Kaiser here. He has got a good run. Now Michael Blake messaged me just before this evening started and said that he's found the BMW's bogey track, so I don't expect that BMW to be too much help to Kaiser in a straight line. He sort of lets them go there, picking his battles.
Well, Jeroen's the leading Pro-Am driver right now, so I think he's just trying to tag onto the back of these in 11th place and really fight on. Meanwhile, Andy Shields coming under pressure from Jesse Jones. Sutton has managed to just go away from them a little bit, and Chris Wood up the road is putting the pressure on Ben Palmer.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a concertina effect going on between a lot of them, haven't they? They all just close up on one another bit by bit. This is now Jones around the outside of Shield. Going to try and carry the pace and keep that door open for the left-hander. He has done so. Shield moves over a little bit, but the overlap is still there. Later on the brakes goes Jesse Jones, chucks it up the inside, and the Mobile Barbecue has been overtaken. Good stuff by Jesse Jones, nice and tidy. Of course, won the very first race of the season at Monza as well, so we know that Jesse's got great credentials to be a championship contender here. Had a few inconsistent race meetings, but mega stuff again there by the RSR Esports by G Performance driver. And again, just a team that has been very, very solid at the front of the pack, other than the first race tonight, where 3 of them had incidents early on.
Yeah, certainly. By the way, leading AM driver Kieran Chung in 15th place in car 9, got second place amateur behind in Tom Stevens by 2 seconds, and then the third one, which is Stuart Nunnan as well. So 3 amateurs all together out there on track, so they're not really gaining that many points over each other here.
Yeah, and that's what they've all got to think about, you know, is just how the evening is in the jigsaw of the championship, you know, how that piece fits and how it helps you, how it might not help you, and then how you overcome that in a previous round. You always need to try as best you can. You know, we've spoken about you get a lot of points in this championship even further down the order, so you need to keep tabs on who's doing what, how they performed in each race, and whereabouts you'll be in terms of overcoming them. Andy Shield looking like he's going defensive here in the McLaren, and he is going defensive from Nickel Foggy, stablemate of his at Pure Sims. They need to be careful though, because if there is too much fighting going on here, that man, as Paul picks up very quickly, Kenneth Ostwald, will try and get through as well. We know that Kenneth is definitely one driver that takes advantage of any opportunities that come his way. But still, again, close racing here at Watkins, Glen, and we expected this sort of stuff. It's brilliant.
Yeah, the slipstream effect around here is incredible and really keeps people in battles. It doesn't allow you to maybe move up quite as much as you would normally expect to get, but yeah, some drivers finding it easier going than others out there today, but that's what you expect with 2 minutes to go in this race. So yeah, Matt Turnbull, 4.4 seconds. I mean, that's incredible.
It's a hell of a drive so far, and I was actually just looking at the positions gained. Jesse Jones, who we were watching a minute ago, has gained 28. Foggy's gained 31. Jake Blackhall's gained 24. And David Baker is in 17th place after gaining 29 spots. Same with Oscar Coper in 20th place. There have been some mega drives through from the back as well, because I mean, we saw how far down the order David was before. I'll be very pleased with that. But Watson, at the minute, he's not really managed to get away, has he? And even if the gap hasn't closed down to Turnbull, he's not been able to shake off the attentions of Pete Harrod there. I mean, we know how quick Pete is. As here goes Oswald. Look at that around the outside. That looked to me like Shield had had a moment there and been held up.
Yeah, he'd been passed by Foggy. I think he was allowing Foggy pass, but the problem is that Oswald took the opportunity and gained the position. I wouldn't say it's been a mega drive. I would say more of a Genesis drive for David Baker there today.
I was wondering whether any one of those ones would have been slotted in, but
he'll be happy with the Saturn performance, that's for sure. But anyway,
I'll give you that. That was a belter. Well, Pete Harrod and Adam Watson cross the line onto what will be the final lap of this race, and you know, Pete's even looking slightly on the offensive here, Paul. He could use the slipstream and get through. What do you reckon?
He's a little bit too far back, I think, now. But Adam doesn't have any slipstream in front of him. There's an apex there somewhere, and I think I can see why he didn't get the apex there. And here comes Harrod now with the run.
Fantastic stuff from Pete. Keeps the car half in, slipstream half out. It decides the inside. Adam Watson lets him have that space. Then Palmer and Ash Sutton were side by side in the background. They've just swapped around. Pete Harrod clings on to the apex. A little bit of a dab of the brakes there, it looked like, just to keep the car under control. Watson now back alongside, down the inside into the left-hander. Very close to contact. Canard versus Diffuser. Now what's Pete going to do? Later on the brakes, into the toe? No, nothing doing there. He hopes that Adam Watson's going to go deep here. That's what he's going to be putting his money on. Matt Turnbull doesn't need to worry about too much now. As around goes Stuart Nunnan in the number 8 machine.
More importantly, Foggy.
Oh no, Foggy. After such a great
Kieran
drive.
Chung's around as well. He's had an issue at the bottom of the... Oh my goodness.
No one wants to finish well in this race by the look of it. But this man does, and he's going to as well. What a wonderful drive this has been by Matthew Turnbull. He's got the default iRacing number 64 on, but it certainly has not been a default drive. Great performance in the Pure Sims 3M Lamborghini. Flashes the lights. Great drive, Matthew Turnbull. Wins race 2 of the evening. And Adam Watson holds on ahead of Pete Harrod. Pete will be happy with the podium. Then it's Ben Palmer and Ash Sutton. Jesse Jones will be next up. Andy Shield is going very slowly there.
I think he's run out of fuel.
Yeah, I think he might have overdone it. I'm not surprised with the way that McLaren belches flames, but...
Yeah, he's run out of fuel.
That's not a car that's going at full chat. Oh, he's going to lose out to Foggy. Just across the line. Foggy just beats him there. I think Tom Stevens might have had a bit of that as well, you know. Although, no, he doesn't quite beat him. There is Alex Neller. Oh, sorry, it is Horder. I thought Alex Neller was in one of the other Lamborghinis, wasn't he? This is Doyle around the final corner. But, yeah, that was a real shame that for Kieran Chung, which actually means that Tom Stevens wins the AM category in that one from John Roberts and Lewis Archer. Your top Pro-Am driver was Chris van der Ness. No, it wasn't. It was Jeroen Kaiser. Apologies. He was greyed out. He was greyed out my timing. He's gone back to the pits. Sorry, Chris. I'm sorry, Jeroen. But Chris finishes second either way. Jake Blackhall third in that class. Yeah,
it was almost like the Monaco Grand Prix of 1982, where they were all sat around waiting for a winner. But we didn't have to wait for a winner because Matt Turnbull, what a drive from him. He's almost caught up to the back of the back markers there on the slow down lap.
He hasn't slowed down one bit, has he? He's just thought, all right, stuff it. I'm at pace. I may as well make the most of it. But no, that was a mega performance. That as soon as he got to the front, he was just gone. And that was a real driver in his element moment there. Great stuff from Adam Watson, but like I said, he just could not break away and catch the leader. Brilliant, brilliant stuff, though. I'd be very intrigued to see if we can find out what happened to Kieran Chung at the end there, because that was a real shame for him. But there are your results. The Lamborghini, despite being a very similar chassis to the Audi, overcomes the 4 rings there. Adam Watson, second place behind your race winner Matthew Turnbull. Pete Harrod finishes third. Ben Palmer finishes fourth. Get it right, Chaz. Ash Sutton finishes fifth. Jesse Jones sixth ahead of Chris Wood. Jeroen Kaiser, as I said, obviously, wins Pro-Am ahead of Kenneth Ostwald. Chris van der Ness, second in the Pro-Am fight, rounding out your top 10, with Jake Blackhall and Stephen McCaffrey just behind. Nickel Foggy eventually finishes 13th ahead of Andy Shield, who just beat Tom Stevens over the line. David Baker finishes 16th. John Roberts 17th. Oscar Coper in 18th place with Lewis Archer. And Simon Neller rounding out your top 20. Then it's Michael Avdoka and Alex Neller. Mark Woodhouse 23rd ahead of Mike Horder, Lars van Rijn and Lee Berridge. Then a horde of AM drivers, Stuart Nunnan, Kieran Chung, unfortunately they're 28th. Chris Byram 29th and Brian Loynes rounding out 30. We then have Tom Dadswell and Ethan Bass in the Ford. 33rd was Mark Fletcher, Paolo Munoz 34th, Matthew Doyle 35th, ahead of Adam Hedgecock, Liam Atkins, Ben Gregory, Simon Field and Jason Rowe, who rounds out your top 40. Then we have Sean Gardner, James Whitehouse and Andy Archer, followed by Ross McFarlane and Michael Blake. Morgan Butler, not quite the performance he would have wanted there, 46th. Jason Hodgson was 47th. And then the cars that were not classified on the first few laps and therefore not eligible for the reverse grid. Ross Nicholson, Josh Thompson and Luke Hobson at the very back of the field. But still, Paul, we have a massive, massive number of drivers that are going to be eligible for this reverse grid. So let's give the wheel a spin and see what we get. What's your money on?
I'd like full. I really would like full, just for the memes. It's going to be a small one though. Yeah, well, 25.
Not about size, it's what you do with it. So it's going to be about what the 2 boosted cars of Lars van Rijn and Mike Horder can do with it. They're going to be starting on the front row with Mark Woodhouse and Alex Neller behind. Michael Avdoka starting 5th. Now, if you're a betting man, I'd say that Avdoka is probably going to be your man to watch for the race win there. No disrespect to the drivers ahead of him, of course, but we know how savagely fast he is. But here is that final lap then. Kieran Chung was ahead of, I believe that's Tom Stevens and David Baker, leading the AM class as well. And quite dramatically here, Paul, Stevens ended up winning the AM class after this little incident.
Well, it's coming down the chute, so we're going to have a move into the carousel. There's Stevens to the outside, the Evo SR car.
Bit deep.
Chung, nice tight line, holds his line there. Onto the brakes and then into the hairpin.
Oh, I think he might have.
Either he's carried on just a little bit too much speed, or there was a little bit of netcode involved in it.
Yeah, potentially. I think. This is just my opinion on this, but if it was netcode, I think it would have been a bit more of a violent movement. I think it would have been a very sudden jump to the side from the car. I'm wondering whether he might have just lost that himself. But again, even for that, it started moving a bit suddenly. So I'm on the fence on that one, unfortunately. But it was close racing, and we do see that. But I'm gutted for Kieran Chung though, because he put in a great drive up to that point, but still. Plenty going on though, another wonderful race. It's a good turnaround as well, I must say, from the admins to get it sorted and restart the session and have a new one in there. So hats off to the boys for that. Yeah,
absolutely. They made a quick decision and got on with it, and that's what you need from a race control. You need a quick decision being made. And to be honest, overall, I think it was a fair decision. There was still incidents happen in that race.
Yeah.
But at least those drivers that were involved had the opportunity of taking a fast repair to get themselves a finish in the end there. So it's not like it's been massively. There will always be people who will say, "Well, I made up so many positions."
Yeah.
But in real life, if you have a red flag, you could make up 50 positions, but it doesn't matter because
it'll get restarted.
The great races get restarted. So yeah.
Well, like I said, you need to please the majority. If you ever have an admin decision in a league or in any form of sim racing organization or event, the best thing to do is, you'll never please everybody, as we all know. Just please the majority. If you've got a choice, don't pander to who is in the majority or the minority. Please the majority. That's all you can do.
I don't even think pleasing the majority. I think it should just be, look, this is what's in the rule book. The rule book stated that we should have had the fast repairs. We didn't have them, so therefore it's unfair that we reset everything and start again.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what they did with Daytona last season.
Yeah,
it was a case of they could have had the race classified as where it was, but people were out of sync with the pit stops and so on. The right thing to do was to just level it and just have that as that. But we've got another race coming up in just a few minutes' time. Of course, race 3. We've had our reverse grid. We will have Lars Van Rijn and Mike Horder on the front row for Boosted, so it's going to be a very interesting one. Watch out for Michael Avdoka, though. I've said it here, and you've heard it here first. But Paul and I will be back in a few minutes. For now, enjoy these ads. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV and welcome back to Watkins, Glen and the World GT Championship. We're at the 4th meeting of Season 9. We're into the 2nd quarter of this championship and we're into the 3rd race of the evening here in the sprint race format. 3 20-minute races we are treated to on these evenings. Chaz Draycott here with Paul Smith over there. And, well, Paul, we have had a little bit of everything tonight. We had the fantastic racing at the very front of the grid in race 1. We had a cancelled race 2, well, a restarted race 2 with the massive accident. And then again, some brilliant racing, but nobody wanting to finish on the last lap.
Yeah, it was a bit of a carnage. We've had everything, really. And let's have a nice, calm race 3. Let's just have a nice, dull one. I mean 25 place reverse grid. So, I mean, Jesse Jones, who's had to work the way through the grid in race 2, has now got to do it all again in race 3 here.
Yeah, he got very excited in the Discord and he was saying, wow, 35th to 6th place, what a drive. You know, he's very excited about that. And now, after getting to 6th, he's going to be all the way down in, well, what would he be? 19th on the grid after that. But, you know, if he can come that far up from 35th on the grid, then could even win this race, you never know. But we have some fantastic talent at the front. Michael Avdoka is going to be 5th on the grid. He's got boosted cars in front of him. He's got, I believe, some Team Mad cars in front of him. I think Mark Woodhouse is up there as well, if I remember rightly. But Avdoka is my pick for this one, I have to say. No disrespect to anybody else, but we just know how savagely fast he is. And he's such a top lad as well, Avdoka. Honestly. So, I mean, he has his screens at like 140 degrees from where the front one is. When we spoke on Discord recently, and his other screen is like here. You know, they're out of his peripheral vision. So even though I think they're slightly curved, he's got his one in front of him, and then they're just like right next to him. But he's such a lovely guy, Michael, and he's one of them guys that he's like David Baker. You know, they're so fast, but they're such great guys. You can't be angry at them for it.
Yes.
You know, you can't hate them for them being that quick. It's great.
It's
really
an irrational hatred. It's like, oh, I really like you, but god damn it, stop me too fast.
Yeah, just lose a second and a half, will you? But either way, Avdoka's going to be right up there in this one. Obviously, no doubt that some of the guys from earlier on in the evening, the likes of Oscar Coper, his teammates as well, Kenneth Ostwald, Jesse Jones, look out for them, Ross McFarlane. There is going to be a really, really great fight early on here, but it's all, of course, about surviving the first few laps. But this is how your grid lines up then. Lars Van Rijn and Mike Horder make it a boosted motorsport front row. Let's see how they can benefit from that. Team Mad's Mark Woodhouse is 3rd. Alex Neller, not Simon Neller, is 4th. Michael Avdoka and Simon Neller, funnily enough, not Alex Neller, is 6th for boosted Jericho. Lewis Archer, the highest placed AM driver, in 7th, ahead of Oscar Coper. John Roberts lines up alongside David Baker, while Tom Stevens joins Andy Scheel on row 6. Behind them is Nickel Foggy and Stephen McCaffrey, with Jake Blackhall and Chris van der Ness on row 8. Behind them is Kenneth Ostwald and Jeroen Kaiser, 17th and 18th. 19th we find Chris Wood, with Jesse Jones rounding out your top 20, ahead of the Pure Sims OBP duo that they've really been dancing together this evening, Ash Sutton and Ben Palmer. Pete Harrod, their teammate, joins them 23rd, ahead of Adam Watson, your reigning Pro-Am champion. Matthew Turnbull is 25th, ahead of Lee Berridge, who unfortunately got caught up in that incident in race 2. Behind him is a flock of AMs, Stuart Nunnan, Kieran Chung, Chris Byram and Brian Loynes. Then we have Tom Dadswell and Ethan Bass. Mark Fletcher lines up alongside Paolo Munoz in the 3-digit car number squad. Matt Doyle then lines up alongside Adam Hedgecock in unlucky 13. Liam Atkins is 37th, with Ben Gregory alongside him. Simon Field and Jason Rowe round out your top 40. Behind them is Sean Gardner and James Whitehouse, this Century Sim Racing. His teammate Andy Archer is 43rd, with Ross McFarlane 44th. Look out for him gaining a lot of places here. Michael Blake lines up alongside Morgan Butler, who had a fantastic race 1. He'll be hoping for more in this final race of the meeting. Jason Hodgson is 47th, with Ross Nicholson for SimStickers Racing. And look at that, car 49, P49, Josh Thompson for Williams Esports at the very back of the grid. But there's a lot of spread in this one, Paul. Sometimes we have a real group of all the pros and all the pro-ams together, but they really are thoroughly mixed up now. Properly shuffled deck.
Yeah, they certainly are. And by the way, Flock of Hams sounds like a rubbish tribute act for Flock of Seagulls, but there you go. As we'll see these. But it's interesting to see how these Pro-Ams now, you look at it, you've got Van Rijn, you've got Horder, you've got Woodhouse at front first three positions. Alex Neller and Michael Evdoka, they've got a real opportunity here to score some big points over some of their pro compatriots. Lewis Archer, what a position he finds himself in 7th place as well. So he's got an opportunity of gaining some big points. But John Roberts, we normally just see him taking it calm and just plugging away and scoring the points. He's up there in 9th place. I think John really needs to show that competitive edge and really try and hang on to as many points as possible in this race.
Yeah, we've had a lot of situations in this championship before where you'll put an AM or even a Pro-Am driver near the front and they can just sink like a stone just because of the calibre of some of these pro drivers. But yeah, I think while John does often play it safe and get the points on the board, we may see a bit of elbows out from a lot of these drivers quite high up there. I think, I was just trying to figure out who it was in the very, very brightly coloured Lamborghini. I think Lewis Archer essentially in that car. He's got a wonderful sort of art car livery on it. It's the number 46. It is Lewis Archer. There he is on the left. Very, very brightly coloured. But is there anyone that you keep an eye on for this one, Paul, for a potential win, other than potentially Evdoka?
Nicole Foggy. 13th place on the grid. He's in a really good shout for a potential win. But Evdoka's going to be so difficult to beat. But we are writing off people like Alex Neller, so let's not write them off. They've got a tremendous opportunity here for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got the likes of Oscar Coper, who is going to be really, really eyes forward on this one, taking every opportunity early on. The grid is being nicely backed up, though, by Lars Van Rijn. He's been here before. He knows what he's doing with this one. Out the final corner, he's put the foot down already. Gets the most out of that Ferrari's V8. And across the line they go. Barney waves the green flag, and the third and final race of the evening is underway. The field streaming down, and of course Pure Sim's cars are already 3 wide at the middle of the pack. But what more would we expect? These guys want to take as many opportunities as they can. Mike Horder from second on the grid has gone flying down already. Rejoins as quickly as possible. He's got Ash Sutton and Ben Palmer in there with him now as they go up through the S's. Everybody just nice and calm over the top of the hill. Look at that fantastic stream of GT3 machinery. Roughly £500,000 each. That's a very expensive train up the hill. But look at that at the front. Lars Van Rijn, he's made a real good getaway, Paul.
He certainly has. And Simon Neller, 4th place, battling with Mark Woodhouse in the BMW. That BMW has been a little bit of a struggle around here today. Neller, well, he's trying to make up for what happened in race 2. And he's really putting the pressure on early doors here.
Certainly is. He's really trying hard. A little bit of movement in the background there. I think it was Tom Stevens having a bit of a shimmy around. But this is the thing now. These guys are all going to just try and get into a rhythm. Just keep an eye on what their competitors are doing around them. That's Andy Shield looking down the inside of David Baker. On the brakes he goes in the McLaren. David tries to just squeeze him to the apex, make sure that he can't open up the corner.
Palamunos is out.
Good run. Yeah, Palamunos. I saw him drop down the order on my timing screen before, and I'm not quite sure whether he's just had a moment on his own. Doesn't look like anybody else has gone with him, I don't think. Simon Field seems to be quite far down. There's a few drivers near the bottom, but they've only lost like 1 or 2 places. Out wide goes Jake Blackhall. Bit of rallycross. Oh, that's contact with Jeroen Kaiser. I don't know if Jake knew he was there, but Jeroen has gone backwards. It's going to be a bit of a scary rejoin from there for Jeroen, I'm afraid. As into the pits comes Kieran Chung. Now, I saw he dropped a few places as well, Paul.
Yeah, he's not had a good time, and Jeroen is all the way down to the bottom of the field, so we'll see what happened to him there. It was, we just caught the end of it there. Let's try and get it back a little bit further. So he's getting, so look ahead, because you've got Jake Blackhall is going to run wide. In fact, let's get on board with Jeroen. He's run out wide there. But then that rejoin, and he's just turned left hand down there, it seems.
I don't think
he could should really stick to the right hand side of the track there, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course. But I just don't think he knew that Jeroen was there, in fairness. He's got a lot of cars streaming through. He's potentially worried about if there was cars too wide in front of him. I think he may have been more focused on not having a 3 wide moment with them. But look at this man. As predicted, Michael Evdoka now hot on the heels of your race leader Lars van Rijn. Alex Neller in there as well in the Lamborghini. Alex has been a great revelation, dumping that Ford last season. I mean, he was great in that car anyway, but he certainly has been flying in the Lamborghini as well. It's been a very potent car in its first season in the World GT Championship. This is David Baker side by side with Nickel Foggy. Paul's, well, what would you call it? Paul's picked for the race. There's David now. Simon Neller in there as well. Oh, bit of a moment from Archer. Oh, that's John Roberts. Oh no, John. Maybe a bit too much of the grass there. He tried to blend in with the green on his car. Gets going again.
He's done the right. He did the right thing, holding the brakes, keeping it out of the way.
Yeah.
John's experience in this series. He knows what happens. Here's the replay. Oh no,
it's just already gone.
It's already gone. Yeah.
There's
that corner is
little...
awful. That corner is one of the worst corners around this track here.
Yeah, there's a big change in the concrete on the apex, like I said at the top of the broadcast, but also as it joins onto the club circuit, there's a bit of a dip down. It goes over a slight crest, and I think just as he's done that, it's lit up the rears. Speaking of lighting up the rears, Evdoka is flinging it past your current race leader, Lars van Rijn, now former race leader, Lars van Rijn. But Lars doing the right thing there. You know, he's not forcing the issue too hard. He's top pro-am by a couple of places over Mark Woodhouse. He can now try and use Evdoka and just follow him. Just use his pace to your advantage, because Woodhouse is having a fight with Oscar Coper, actually, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is, side by side through the chutes. Coper's going to get the run on the exit, is he? No, he's running a little bit wide, but Woodhouse is given the space. Oh, Neller!
Oh, and is that Sutton? I think Sutton was involved in that. There's cars all over the shop. Hopefully everyone figures it out. Looks like they have. Oh, there's another Audi over.
Oh my goodness, they're all going in. Oh my.
Oh, the track is blocked in the middle there.
They're working their way through.
Yeah, the majority has got through.
Out. But,
Sutton's around in that one. I've just seen Ash.
Yep, there he is. So who started all that?
I think the first car to go around was Neller. Simon Neller went around. I'm not sure who it was that went with him, but there was definitely contact on the apex. And then, but Gregory stopped. Thompson tries to squeeze through and hits Ben Gregory. That's Jim Whitehouse and Ash Sutton. There is Simon Neller.
Let's try and go back to it and let's see.
Ostwald.
So it was the 277, and then was it Archer?
Yeah, I think so. And then it's just really unfortunate. It spat him the other way. Jesse Jones gets a smack off one of the Paceworks cars. Sutton gets into it, and who was that? That was Ethan
Ford.
Bass.
Yeah,
Ethan Bass just came barreling in. Jim Whitehouse loses it to the side of Sutton, who's then back across the road. Liam Atkins, Michael Blake's in there. That was such a shame. That all just because, obviously, we saw Neller go out a little bit wide, and then he just tried to come back across Lewis Archer, didn't he? I don't think he knew that Lewis had his nose down the inside. And it was a big, big chain reaction from there.
Alex Neller up in second place. So battle's still going on at the front, although I think Van Rijn is just happy being where he is. Chris Byram's around now. Don't know what's happened there for the Cuda Motorsport driver. Let's find out, shall we?
Find out indeed. This is our what would you call it? The investigatory part of the show.
He's lost it. It caught the grass there, so easily done. Into the tyre wall as well.
He was just adjusting his line as well, just to make sure it worked down the inside. And unfortunately, nothing going on there for him. And that's the thing, you know, when you are trying to adjust your line, it's so easy to overdo it.
Jed Blackhall's dropping down the order now.
Not more of them.
Well,
absolute nightmare.
So far we've had in the pit so far in this race, we've had Ben Palmer, Kieran Chung, John Roberts, Liam Atkins, Lewis Archer, Tom Stevens, Ben Gregory, Ash Sutton, Ethan Bass, Jesse Jones, Josh Thompson and Paolo Munoz all in the pits. Chris Byram's gone off again. I think he's got damage from that incident into the carousel.
Well, it's a big chunk of the field to have lost. But still, the race goes on. Excuse me.
I thought it was me with the bad voice.
I was going to say that caught me off guard then. But there was just a few of them, wasn't there? They bounced off the wall and came back the other way. Nothing they could do about it. And that was just part of it. Mark Fletcher now in the triple one, having a go at Pete Harrod in the 21. Mark Fletcher so far has gained 17 places. Ross McFarlane, just behind these pairs, gained 27 in this race. But Audi on Audi. Mark and Pete, two very good mates of mine. So if they have an argument about what goes on here, then I don't know whose side I'm going to go on. But still, wonderful side-by-side stuff. Mark down the inside through the chute. They're going now towards the toe. But as you saw there, Pete got a great run. Can Mark hang it around the outside? No, not quite. No overlap at all. He's got to be careful of Ross trying to poke his nose in too. And then up over the hill again. Nicely sorted out there. Mark actually did a good job there to slot in between the two, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a tremendous job. I think this is the battle over 15th right now for these drivers. So, yeah, find themselves in battles. Got Lee Berridge trying to make some moves on Brian Loynes, and has done so. So, change of position just behind them in the background of the shot. But yeah, this is an opportunity now. When you've got a race of attrition like this is where you need to take advantage of that. When you look at Lars Van Rijn, currently in third place as a top Pro-Am driver. You've also got then best Am driver, just looking down the order, I think it's Brian Loynes actually.
Just having a look myself
19th place, yeah. He's the best Am driver in 19. With Doyle and Nunnan battling over 21st and 22nd, 23rd.
Yeah, indeed. Certainly good to pick out those leading Am drivers, because that's the thing. I mean, when you know you're in a fight in your own class, it's part of the reason of having these classes. You know, it gives you something more to fight for a bit further down the order. A lot of us, when we're racing in the Pro and Am, the Pro-Am and Am divisions of the series, as you could call it, sometimes think, oh, there's no way I'm going to beat the likes of Evdoka, Sutton, Palmer and all those boys. So it's always good to just have that extra bit to fight for. And, you know, again, it just comes back to picking your battles, doesn't it? If you know that you've got a pro driver coming through, you don't have to absolutely step on it everywhere, as that is Tom Dadswell down the inside of Brian Loynes, who we mentioned there, who's definitely picking his battles and having a bit of a ding-dong, but still, you know it's Brian because of the yellow wheels. He always gets picked on it, apparently, by his teammates. But he certainly does love the bright yellow. It helps him stand out. I like that.
Well, it makes it easy for us, that's for sure.
Yeah,
to be able to
definitely.
See that. Now,
definitely.
Just Foggy is up into third place now, by the way. It's 3.2 seconds off the race leader. Evdoka's going to be tough to catch, especially as he's broken the slipstream as Michael. But
this is Nickel Foggy.
Yes. And there's still 9 minutes remaining of this race.
I think the change of this race is going to be how well Alex Nella defends this. If he holds Nickel Foggy up at all, we could see...
Nope.
No.
Just no. We'll stop that.
No.
Stop that straight away. Just no.
Shush, Chaz. Stop it with your conspiracies and just comment what's going on. Foggy then up into second place, as I predicted. Now, into the carousel they go. The two 5.2 litre V10s screaming away. You've got to love it. But now Nickel sets off in chase of his teammate. Now, the thing is, Nella, we know he's capable of sitting there and following the pace of Nickel Foggy. He is incredibly quick indeed, as Ostwald has a fight with Andy Scheel. We know just how fast Nella can be. He really is a star in that Lambo at the moment. Whether he stays ahead of Oscar Coper is the next question, because Oscar, again, has been absolutely on it the whole evening long. Speaking of other people that are on it, Ross McFarlane is up 28 places to 16th. I said that he was going to come through well. He wants them points, doesn't he? He's certainly working hard for it.
He certainly is. He's given it a good go. I will say Andy Shields had actually a quietly good race 2 and race 3 here today, so I think he'll be maybe not 100% pleased with how today's gone, but he could be pleased with how it's gone in the second and third race of the day, so he should be happy with how things have gone, although Asphalt is slowly pulling away now in that Audi. But yeah, he'll be happy with that. One thing we've got to look at now is lap times of the two leaders. 45.5 for Evdoka, 45.2 for Foggy, although Foggy did have that slipstream on the last lap. So next lap will be what's key to see here.
yeah, just see what they can do in the clear air and make of the time themselves. I mean, you've got to remember as well, though, Foggy didn't really have much of a compromised line, did he, when he went past Alex Neller? This is Ross McFarlane on his continued climb up the order to 15th place now, past Chris Wood, number 87 BMW. Haven't seen too much impression from the BMW so far this season. I hear it's a very user-friendly car to drive, which is what you want from a GT3 car. There's an absolute ton of people using it for the upcoming Bathurst 12 Hours next weekend, but it just doesn't have anything on the Audi at the minute. We all know the Audi is the car to be in at the moment. The Lambo isn't too far off it either, in all fairness.
Adam Watson's got a lot of damage on the front of his car, I've just noticed here. So he's been in the wars.
Yeah, I'll just try and see. If
was he caught up in that incident with Neller?
Potentially, yeah. Mark Fletcher went past him not too long ago, it seems.
Yeah, it was on this lap.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I didn't know if it was just a bit further back than that, but still, there is Mike Horder, down the inside of Stephen McCaffrey. Nice to see a Mercedes quite high up there doing well. He's in 9th place at the moment, doing the good old Merc some justice. It certainly has become more of a pig than it used to be. It was such a great all-rounder in previous times, but now it's become quite a handful, as Ross McFarlane told me. But Mike Horder, previous Pro-Am champion in Season 7, in a Mercedes, funnily enough, going past now and starting to drive away, if anything, as well. Stephen McCaffrey, though, actually, I've just realised he's 12th. On my, I had him as 9th on my timing for a second there. I'm not quite sure why, but yeah, that's my bad. I think my timing's had a bit of an issue here, and it's not picked up some cars because I turned the number down on my sim thanks to my stream yesterday. But at the moment, Ross McFarlane, that potentially a little bit of a tap on the wall there for Adam Watson.
It wouldn't surprise me if his car is handling a little bit like a pig. Battling for 3rd place, Oscar Kopa tries to go around the outside of Alex Neller. Neller slams the door shut, and he's not giving that position away easily in that boosted Jericho car. So Neller is desperate to try and hang on to a top 3 finish here. The lead battle, it's not really a battle. He is closing his Foggy, but not to the extent that he needs to win this race.
No, that's it. Just not able to push far enough forward, unfortunately. But we know how quick they are at the end of the day, don't we? I mean, there's never any doubt in that, but it's just whether you can catch somebody like Avdoka over that short period of time. It'll take a lot. This is Mark Fletcher, who again is having a really good run. 20 places gained. Car behind him, Ross McFarlane, has gained 30. Mike Horder has actually dropped 10, don't forget. He had that off on the very first corner of the race. I'm not sure whether he got helped off, but it certainly seemed like it. Whether he lost it on the brakes or not is unclear. But Mark, he needs to put this pressure on now, though, because in the championship you need to think that the man behind him, Ross McFarlane, is definitely a championship threat to him, isn't he?
Absolutely, without a doubt. This has been a day where I think a few of the drivers, nice run out the corner there, by the way.
Lovely.
Gets the job done before the straight, and that means that he can then straight away attack Steve McCaffrey in front of him. So that's really good from Mark Fletcher there. Good stuff from him. I think this is a day where you will see quite a few drivers taking this as a drop score.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a very mixed result for a lot of them. Looking down the inside of Steve McCaffrey is Mike Horder. Steve went a little bit hot into there. It looked like they closed up on him a lot, you know. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he got out the brakes a bit just to open the gap up to ensure there wasn't contact. I've seen drivers do that a lot, and it's really good reactions. It may not have helped him position-wise, but even still, I'm sure he'd rather still be in the race in the position he's in than not in the race at all. Here's Oscar Kopa now, who's up to 3rd place in the Audi. Started 8th on the grid. Alex Neller is now back to where he started this race in 4th. And then Shiel going past Lars van Rijn. He's got the 2 teammates, David Baker and Matt Turnbull, car 66 and 64. The Pure Sims 3M machines.
That's a quietly impressive performance from Turnbull, though, with the reverse grid after winning race 2, moving forward to 9th.
Yeah, 16 places gained for Matt so far. Really strong performance. And again, under the radar, a lot of these drivers do this, don't they, Paul? We have the standout performers that usually get right to the front, but there are others that get inside the top 20, top 10, and they have a massive climb through the field, don't they? It's great to see. And again, it always comes back to the calibre of these drivers in this series. We are very much treated in what we get to commentate on.
Certainly we are, as through the S's, Turnbull behind one of his compatriots in David Baker and his fellow Lamborghini driver. And they're just trying to work their way past Lars Van Rijn. Van Rijn, who is still your top Pro-Am, and again, playing it beautifully just to get some really, really good points for the Pro-Am Championship.
Yeah, 1.5 minutes to go. And he is, well, there's the gap. Mark Woodhouse was just in the background. He's about 3.5 seconds ahead of him. So as long as he just follows these guys in front now and has a clean last lap, I should say, then we could be good here. 1.25 minutes from the end. So we're definitely going to get one more lap out of this race, which is obviously what Nickel Foggy wants. He did the fastest lap of the race last time, 1:44.89. Avdoka did a 45.22.
Oh, Kieran Jones into the pits.
Oh, not again. Kieran's had a nightmare evening, really, hasn't he?
Here's Handsome Pete making moves on Chris Wood. He's trying to work his way past the BMW, but that BMW, it's like the old Volvo 850 Estate for the British touring cars back in '94. You just could not get past it. It was such a big car. But he's trying to work his way past Chris here.
Yeah, very good mates, these two as well. Both of them live about 1.5 miles from me as well. We, a long time ago, shared an evening of sim racing together. Chris Wood then went off and won a Porsche Cup Championship, and I teased him that it was the fact that he managed to practice on my wonderful desk-mounted Logitech Driving Force GT wheel. But he refused to accept that, unfortunately. Either way, two very good friends on track together. It was actually Pete that got Chris into iRacing as well, and Chris has come on massively since I first saw him race in the good old Kia Club Series years ago. Remember that? And we go back to this battle now, the two raging bulls together, and it's Matt Turnbull that goes down the inside of the Doctor into the carousel, but Dave says not on your life, mate. I'm going to try and hang this around the outside. Beautiful formation flying, nice exposure for series sponsor 3M as well. Thank you to the guys for sponsoring the series. And
also thank you to David Baker and Matt Turnbull organising it between themselves so that Baker has the endurance lights on and Matt doesn't. So there you go, we can tell the difference between the two.
It's like Hill and Villeneuve at the 1996 Australian Grand Prix. One's covered in oil, one's not. But either way, that was a nerdy one for you. Michael Avdoka at the front of this pack. I hate to say I told you so, but it's been a very, very clean drive, hasn't it, Paul?
Oh, he's been superb. Once he got to the front there, he needed to break away. He did just that, and it's worked out for him beautifully here today.
Has indeed. Into the final corner then to round out the evening with a wonderful performance. Michael Avdoka for Pure Sims Esports crosses the line to take the checkered flag. His teammate Nickel Foggy, albeit Pure Sims OBP, finishes in second position, a 1-2 for them. Oscar Coper is going to get third. Fourth place Alex Neller, then Oswald Scheel, and then Baker is just going to cross the line ahead of Turnbull. Wonderful little train here with Brian Loynes in the middle of it as well, but Brian Loynes is going to win your AM class. Beautiful stuff from him. Don't forget as well, we had Lars Van Rijn win the Pro-Ams, but Brian Loynes with those beautifully bright yellow wheels takes AM honours. There's the 26 of Simon Field crossing the line as well, in the never confusing boosted livery. As we watch another one of the Sim Stickers cars, Ross Nicholson in the 68 Audi, or what's left of it, crosses the line. He was just behind Jason Rowe in the number 12 BMW. But some brilliant battles once again, Paul. There was lovely racing in that one. Apart from the incident we saw,
yeah,
that incident, I'd say, in the politest way, it went on for longer than it should have, I think. But either way, there is a lot of bottlenecking around here, because let's face it, the barriers are not far away from the circuit here, are they? They do sort of give it a bit of a tunnel effect, don't they?
Yes, it does, especially through the S's, because it does narrow down there. There's a tunnel, which was why you get the barriers right up against the track there, which of course is where in Formula 1 we lost Francois Sever back in 1973. So yeah, it is. It's a notoriously difficult section of the track, narrow, and then of course, as you mentioned, that down the chute, out of there, it's so easy to lose control through there, and before you know it, everyone's piling in. We are actually having to wait for one driver, which is John Roberts, because he is actually on his final lap of his race. He's trying to get past people to actually finish, because he's been in the pits to get some repairs done to his car, and he's trying to finish the race.
Oh, poor John.
He's having to work his way through everybody who's on the cool down laps here.
And they're probably thinking, who's this nutcase flying through at race pace, flashing his lights? Not knowing that he's pretty much a lap down on most of them. Bless him. But still, at least he gets to savour driving the Lamborghini around. It's not in the best of conditions. He's saying his teammates moving around, probably to say hello there. That was Mark Woodhouse, wasn't it, in the 83? But he's like,
if Matt Woodhouse is his teammate, I need to be having words with Matt.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. John,
I'm going to retire.
John across the line here.
Oh, God. I'm so sorry.
But it's a win for Michael Evdoka, that's the main thing.
I thought you were about to say it's a win for John Roberts then. It's definitely not a win for Chaz or his career. Flipping out. But wow, yeah, what a wonderful race to round out the evening. An Audi 1-2-3 and a Pure Sims 1-2, albeit different squads. Michael Evdoka wins from Nickel Foggy. Oscar Coper takes a nice third place. Alex Neller did a great job there to hold on to fourth. Kenneth Ostwald, really good drive, 12 places gained. Same for Andy Shield. He got 6 places out of that one. Dave Baker just missing out on taking that legendary 6th position that he loves so much. 7th for him, though, will be good enough. Matt Turnbull, 8th. Lars van Rijn wins the Pro-Am category ahead of Mark Woodhouse. Definitely not teammates. Ross McFarlane is 11th with Mark Fletcher. Great drive from him, to be fair, up to 12th. Although, I say that, Ross McFarlane, 33 places gained. That's amazing. Mike Horder next up in 13th position. Stephen McCaffrey, 14th. Pete Harrod, 15th, ahead of his mate Chris Wood. Brian Loynes wins the AM class in that third race. Very well done to Brian. He finishes ahead of Adam Watson, Tom Dadswell and Lee Berridge, who round out your top 20. Adam Hedgecock is next up with Matthew Doyle, Simon Field and Stuart Nunnan, with Chris van der Ness ahead of Ben Palmer, Jeroen Kaiser, Andy Archer, Michael Blake and Jason Rowe round out your top 30. The two Immortal cars actually sticking together till the very end there. Ross Nicholson, 31st, ahead of Jake Blackhall, Simon Neller, not Alex Neller, James Whitehouse and Sean Gardner, just ahead of his stablemate Ben Gregory. Ash Sutton ended up 37th after the incident, with Tom Stevens, Liam Atkins and Chris Byram finishing 40th. We then have John Roberts, who had the fastest cooldown lap in history. Jason Hodgson finished 2 laps down, same with Kieran Chung and Lewis Archer. Morgan Butler, unfortunately, after having such a fantastic start to his evening, had a bit of a spoiled one by the end. Jesse Jones also 10 laps down, Ethan Bass the same, and Josh Thompson and Paolo Munoz. So some really big names there, Paul, actually falling by the wayside at the end of the evening, after we'd said early on that a lot of them are great at playing it to their advantage.
Yeah, they some big accidents, which of course the stewards will look at this post races, so there's no live stewarding, but there will be stewards' decisions made in all of this. So yeah, it's been an interesting one here today, that's for sure. But we're just going to have yeah, it's Watkins Glen. We're just going to have a very, very, and I mean very quick word with 2 drivers here. So why don't I take it away with Josh Thompson then. Josh, not the day you would have wanted here today.
No, to say how well race 1 went, obviously didn't get the win there, but the racing being as competitive it was and how close it was, it almost teed up for like a really, really strong meeting all around for racing. But yeah, it just fell apart really.
And then of course next week, Long Beach. I mean, that's we're asking for trouble there, surely. I
was going to say, I thought Montreal in the Tagore Esports Super Cup was going to be bad, but that's going to be something else, I think, with 40-minute races. Be a bit hectic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that, Josh, for your words for today. And Morgan Butler as well, the AM driver as well. Another one who had a good evening so far, but then just a terrible run in that final race. Talk us through your evening.
Well, obviously race 1 started off fantastically. I think that's the best qualifying I've ever had. And obviously then to top that off with the P8, which for me with no reverse grid, like sheer just showing my true ability for 20 minutes was like I could not have been happier. And I did like the two races after that. They still haven't put a dampener on it. Like I'm still absolutely ecstatic from race 1. So yeah, no point dwelling on them 2 races. I've shown what I can do, and I just know that I can carry it forwards and show what I can do for the rest of the season now.
Well, that's it. Can you take this form into the rest of this championship then?
Well, definitely, but maybe after Long Beach. Like, I think I'll have to wait till after Long Beach to show that. But yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting one. Sure, I've never really gone too well around street circuits in my experience, but you know, I might surprise myself like I did tonight.
Well, thank you, Morgan. Thank you. We've not got much time for interviews, so Chaz, take it away with your race winner from the final race.
Yeah, Michael, you must be very pleased with that one, mate. I mean, not to say I told you so to everybody in chat, but I did have you as my pick for the race. Early on, though, you know, you had some very quick guys behind you. Did you think you were going to manage to actually win that one, or did you think it was going to be hard work? Good chat. Michael, darling, are you there? Oh, I don't think he's got his mic set up for TeamSpeak. Oh, it's making noises.
Can you hear me now?
Here he is.
I do apologise about that.
It's all good, mate. How was that? Did you find that hard, or did you expect to win that one?
In all honesty, it was just about getting past the couple of guys in front of me and then just holding a gap. So yeah, I did sort of expect to win it, but you never know with these sort of races. I mean, I had a bit of a bad race too. Well, it was going all right, to be honest, but Mr. Mark Fletcher had a little bit of an incident in front of me, and yeah, we came together. So it happens. Just like to shout out the admins as well for sorting out race 2, because obviously we had a few issues there, but quick decision and it was all sorted. But racing tonight was really good. It was always going to be close here with the slipstream effect. You know, it was crazy how much you gained down that big long straight, and in that last race I just sort of bided my time, didn't do anything silly, and just used that advantage to get around the guys I needed to and just pull away.
Yeah, indeed. It certainly looked like a controlled performance at the front, mate. We haven't got much time, so final question, really. Long Beach next week, as Paul said before, we're kind of asking for trouble there, but what do you reckon to that place? Because, I mean, it's a legendary racing circuit in its own right, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I absolutely love it. I have to say, I put my hand up. I was the one that suggested it.
Oh, God, there we go.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's just... It's not even the last hairpin I'm worried about. It's more the waterfall, in all honesty. As long as people use their noddle, and then it'll be fine. Obviously, the pit entry is a bit iffy as well. Obviously, being a feature round, we're going to have a mandatory pit, so that's going to be interesting as well. But no, all round, it's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining, especially for you guys watching the stream and you two commentating on it.
Oh, it was lively tonight, mate. Great to watch, and of course, well done on the win. And we look forward to the next one. So hopefully, we'll speak to you then when you win that one, seeing as you pick the circuit.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Just want to shout out Pure Sims as well. Fantastic job by everyone, and you guys. Thank you very much for the broadcast.
Thank you very much, Michael. Speak to you soon, buddy. Smashing stuff. Well, like we said, time and time again, that had everything tonight. And Watkins is always dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think we knew that coming into this one, didn't we? Yeah,
we did. We absolutely did. And it was always one of those that we had the circle around it. And I mean, there's the calendar for next week, Long Beach. I mean, I'm going to find myself a book to read during the inevitable caution period, I think, here in this one. Hopefully there isn't. Hopefully everybody realises what type track it is. But then you look at that. After that, we've got Circuit de la Sarthe, the halfway point of the season with the endurance event. So. We've got things to look forward to in this series, and you never know, these drivers, they might surprise us next week.
I'd hope so, and to be fair, it's a relatively new circuit as well. I know that when it came out, people know this place very well. You know, it is, like I said then, it's a legendary circuit in its own right, but having the experience around a track like that is what makes all the difference. It's bumpy, it's unpredictable, there's walls very close to you, and we know what they're like on street circuits like that. You know, there can be a part of a corner where you'll think, oh, it's just a corner, it's round. But when you've got walls like you have on those street circuits, you know, they have squared edges, you know, they have bits of walls that point out. It's knowing where the wall points out, what you can get away with, when the car settles and bounces and so on. And I think the drivers that have put the time into that are going to be the ones that succeed there. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for that one. I can't wait, to be fair.
Yeah, certainly it's going to be a thrilling event, and it's going to be something new for us, a second feature event. See how that one goes.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure again. Chaz Draycott and Paul Smith in the booth. Paul, thank you again for your wonderful camera work this evening. Thank you for your patience as well, everybody, during the delayed sort of race 2.5, but we definitely do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on all of the social media channels that you can at RaceSpotTV. Don't forget at SmilerBull and at Chaz Draycott as well if you are on Twitter, and you can see my horrendously unjustified opinions on there. But thanks again for everybody for watching here on RaceSpotTV. Don't forget to like the video and of course subscribe to see all future broadcasts as well. And of course, the World GT Championship. Paul and I will be with you in a week's time, but for now, have a wonderful evening and we'll see you soon.